isolated shower or two, 49 degrees. Friday, partly sunny, a high of 55. Into Saturday, could be tracking the possibility of some scattered showers. Temperatures back towards the lower 50s. Into Sunday, things will continue to rise with highs into the upper 50s. Going to be looking at clearing skies as the day continues on. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
Let's get the conversation started, St. Louis. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
You know, I normally don't start off by saying you've got to listen to the news dump here in just a few minutes, about 15 minutes or so. Is the CCP, is the Chinese government actually targeting Chinese Christians inside the United States? Our friends at Town Hall have a report on that. That's going to be in the news dump. It's really believable because we know that they have had clandestine, literal CCP police offices around the United States. They've been caught doing that. But are they now targeting people of faith? So we'll get to that in the news up here in just a little bit. Okay, so tomorrow there is a rally that's happening in St. Charles, and this has to do with property taxes. Bill Eigel, of course, running for county executive in St. Charles County, is among those who are going to be speaking at this. And, of course, we're going to have like State Representative Ben Keithley there, Dennis Ganal, our friend from Mo Tax Relief Now, State Representative Tricia Burns. They're going to be getting together at a honky-tonk. So if you want to check that out or just hear some honky-tonk music, you can do that. But it's a much bigger issue than just the event that's happening during a campaign. Bill was on the program with us on Tuesday and kind of gave us the update on what this push is, because it may not wait until Election Day for voters to find out they're going to make a decision on it. Here's that conversation. This is focused on particularly property taxes in St. Charles County, of course, with you running for county executive. What is it that you want to see the county council pass and put into place? The banner on the flyer says freeze property taxes. What would that look like?
Well, there's actually a couple things. And Mike, by the way, so good morning, by the way.
Hello.
But more than that, there's actually the potential that we're going to see a couple things on the ballot in St. Charles County that is really going to be a leader amongst the counties in the state. There's going to be two things in particular that we're going to be talking about on Thursday. The first, and Dennis is going to talk about this at length as well. The first is a measure that we're going to try to get put on the ballot that's going to make permanent the senior property tax freeze that benefits all our senior citizens and protects them from all of these dramatic increases on their property taxes. There is an option within the law that was passed associated with that tax credit that would allow the counties to make the decision to make that tax credit permanent. We're going to be getting out information about that, and we're going to be collecting signatures to get that on the ballot. And then, of course, the other thing that's going to be on the ballot is the thing that I have been working on for a decade of my life, and that is the move to move us away from personal property taxes and stop the government process of charging you for the crime of owning a car. That also could show up on the ballot if we get enough signatures. And if it does, and we are successful, St. Charles County might be the first county in the state of Missouri to not charge you rent for owning a vehicle.
Bill, I know we've talked about this before, but I think sometimes it gets a little confusing because we're talking about this from a state level perspective and then also from a county level perspective. What's the difference? What's distinguishing what they're talking about doing in the state house versus what you all are talking about doing for St. Charles County?
Sure. So there's different ways you can get rid of personal property tax. If you try to get rid of it from the state state is what determines the assessment rate on personal property. So right now, that assessment rate is 33.33% of market value is what's ultimately the taxable amount on your vehicle when you go to pay your personal property tax. So if the state wants to get rid of personal property tax, really all they got to do is change the assessment rate that's set statewide down to zero. That will effectively get rid of personal property tax. On the other hand, if we want to go about getting rid of personal property tax from the county level, which is what I am proposing, what I'm proposing to do is reduce the county government which has gotten to a size that we've never seen before. We spend over $600 million a year at the county level, and keep in mind that's separate from the schools, that's separate from the fire departments, that's separate from the library boards. I want to take that $600 million and go in there and get some dramatic savings out of that $600 million and move the savings over to the county collector, who will then pay off the personal property tax bills on behalf of the citizens using those savings from county government. And St. Charles has an enormous county government. Like I said, it's bigger than it's ever been before. And while county government has been getting bigger and bigger and more wasteful, we have seen the tax burden dramatically increase to the size that we've never paid more for owning a house or owning a car. So we want to turn that around. And I really think that the issue of property taxes in particular is going to be the number one issue of this election cycle for 2026.
So, Bill, if we're looking at restraining the government growth or actually cutting the size of the county government, what are the areas that you should go? Where's the fat that needs to be trimmed in order to offset all those costs?
Well, probably the biggest one is just a couple of years ago, St. Charles County passed a cent-and-a-half use tax that is generating right now about $40 to $50 million. It's growing every year, and it's actually, by the time the new county executive takes office a year from now, will be about $55 to $60 million. That's almost half of what we collect in personal property tax. Now, that money has been going into the Parks and Recs Department, but we have so much money going into the Parks and Recs Department that even though we've tripled the budget of our Parks and Recs Department, we've tripled that budget in the past 3 years, the attendance at the county parks over the past 3 years has actually gone down. And we have actually found ourselves spending money that we don't need to be spending in order to, A, continue to deliver the world-class park system, but B, there's a ceiling of how much money we can throw at that park system, and so we can take that surplus that is generated there and move that over to personal property tax. There's some other things, just in general, for the county has grown. There's over 1,400 employees there. The county has never been bigger, and I'm a big fan of the Department of Government Efficiency that was started in Washington, D.C. If we could find just 10%, think about it, just 10% savings at the at county government, we could completely eliminate personal property tax. So another thing that I'm proposing doing as the county executive is we're going to set up that county DOGE program that's going to find those 10% savings. We'll combine that with that cent-and-a-half use tax that the people have already passed and are already paying right now, and we're going to move that over to the county collector. And my plan is to get rid of personal property tax.
And it seems like 10%, Bill, if you're looking at 10% reduction in workforce, you could almost do that through attrition and retirements, as opposed to, you might not even have to fire anybody for just a 10% cut.
Yeah, I think that's right. I wouldn't expect to have to give anybody a pink slip, quite frankly. Turnover, generic turnover for all positions is about 2 to 3%. So I'm sure some of those savings will come in just identifying which positions don't need to continue to be filled after they've already become empty. But more than that, every government entity has waste. I think finding 10% savings in any government organization is actually a pretty conservative goal, to be honest. I actually personally expect that we're going to be able to find more waste than that. So this is a really good opportunity for folks to be engaged with government to do some of the things that they would like to see government do. And in this case, they actually want government to do less. Less of the waste, less of the fraud that we see across government. And so this is a message I think a lot of folks are going to buy into.
Bill, how do we get from point A to point B on this? I mean, it sounds like a very, engaging proposal, something that people should get behind, but just mechanically, how do we get from, advocating for it to getting it actually enacted or passed?
Sure. So think of it in a two-step process. The first thing is this is what we're going to put on the ballot relative to this issue. I'd like to put on the ballot a question that would change the county charter that would specifically allow the county executive to move surpluses from the county budget over to the county collector so that the county collector can pay down the personal property tax bills of its citizens. So we're going to be talking about that on Thursday night. We've already started collecting signatures. We've already got thousands of signatures to get that question onto the ballot. Once that is passed and put into the chart, and by the way, it's overwhelmingly popular. I think once we get that on the ballot, especially since we're only talking about using surpluses to bring down the tax burden, I would expect it to overwhelmingly pass at the ballot. Once that is done, step 2 is we have to elect a county executive that's actually going to be serious about finding these savings and turning those savings into actual dollars that we send over to the county collector and get the county collector to pay down those tax bills. Our current county executive, Steve Ellman, has been busy for the past 20 years growing the size of government, growing the county functions, growing all that waste. We've never had more county government than what we have under Steve Ellman. So I think that it's really going to have to be a decision by the people of this county that, it's not that things are terrible in the county, but there's a real stagnation, I think, that's creeping in on St. Charles County because we've allowed the property and personal property tax burdens to get so high. We've brought in all these apartment complexes, and it's just kind of time for a change that we're going to say, hey, we want a more aggressive steward of our tax dollars, and we're going to make sure that we're bringing down the tax burden as a priority for the next administration.
Okay, I want to do a couple bullet points on that rally coming up on Thursday for those who are interested in it. But also, lots been made of public safety in St. Charles County. Obviously, I would think one of the safer areas of the entire metro area, but you do have crime moving around and growing throughout the metro area. Obviously, how would all of this affect law enforcement, emergency services, any sort of first responder? But law enforcement in particular, which has been under the microscope by a lot of politicians and activists. So what's a Bill Eigel administration going to be doing regarding public safety in St. Charles County?
What we're going to maintain the commitment for the people that keep us safe. We're going to maintain the dollars to doing that. And by the way, when I talk about waste and fraud in government, I'm not talking about law enforcement. I'm not talking about our first responders. Those folks have a very important role, and we're going to make sure they have all the tools that they need to do that. For as long as I've been in politics, I've been one of the staunchest defenders and supporters of our first responders. Of course, I passed the Police Officer Bill of Rights to protect them from frivolous lawsuits. We have always gone out of our way to prioritize law enforcement. We're going to continue to do that. But in spite of we are going to have the capacity because right now we're sending a record amount of money. The people of St. Charles are to their county government. We're going to be able to provide world-class first responder services and at the same time cut the tax burden from the wasteful functions of our county government and bring that tax relief to St. Charles County.
Okay, so you're not the only one speaking at this rally, tax relief rally on Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m., 204 North Main Street in St. Charles. Is that the Soda Museum?
No, that's the Honky Tonk Bar.
The Honky Tonk Bar. All right.
Bar.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so 204 North Main Street, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. You, Tricia Burns, State Representative Tricia Burns, Dennis Ganal, whom we spoke to a little bit ago, State Representative Ben Keithley, all going to be there. So people want to learn more about this event. They want to go. What's the way to be in touch and get a spot?
So the event is right now it's on Facebook. It's open to everybody. We're encouraging everyone to bring their friends, bring their family. You know that I wouldn't miss a conversation about taxes and cutting taxes. And by the way, Mike, you made a very good point. This isn't just about tax reform. There's a little bit of shake and bake going on in Jefferson City right now where they're talking about getting rid of the income tax there, but they're not talking about cutting the tax burden. They're just talking about shifting it around to different forms of taxation. We're going to be talking about actually eliminating, bringing down the tax burden, capping the tax burden, actually stopping more of your dollars from going to government in the first place. I think that's a very important point, but we'd love to see everybody 6 to 8 on Thursday down at the Honky Tonk Bar in Main Street. You'll have a chance to ask questions about our plans to cut the tax burden, and we're going to have the petitions on hand. So if you like what you hear, you can add your name to the list, and we're going to do everything we can to get this put onto the ballot.
All right, it's Wednesday. You know what that means? That means that we need to start collecting your Flashback Friday bump music request. Send them in to Jerome. Give us a call. Put it on social media. We'll get to as many as we can. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the NewsTalk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
NewsTalk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on NewsTalk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care and more in the greater St. Louis region and at the Lake of the Ozarks. Visit hansonstree.com for 24/7 emergency tree care, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch, green resource recycling, and more. Tim Jones here to tell you that whether you're dealing with old man winter at your home or business in the St. Louis region or preparing your lake home for spring, call Hanson's to help you out. No job too big or too small. Mention NewsTalkSTL. Receive 10% off all tree care services. hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Dr. Randy Tobler here, and I know that when you're looking for a dentist, you have to make sure you choose a dental practice that's compatible with you and the needs of your family. Well, I'd like to tell you about my dentist, Dr. Dan Cusimano, and his partner, Megan Dwyer, and their team at Advanced Dentistry at St. Charles. The great team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles can accommodate all of your cosmetic and restorative needs because their passion is general dentistry. Implants, crowns, bridges, even dentures. That what you need the most is what they'll provide in a personalized, focused way. And they can provide therapeutic and cosmetic options like Botox and dermal fillers. Get to know them and all they have to offer by calling 636-978-0226 or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com. That's Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
That's Advanced Dentistry Now, 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You ever have one of those days where you get up and you're just like, oh, it's going to be one of those days?
Pretty much every day, yes.
And all the little stupid things that happen along the way to where you read into it. You know, I drive in this morning, I start to go out to my car and realize as soon as I get 2 steps from my car, crap, I forgot my phone. Okay, go back in, unlock the door, go back, get the phone, and then I get here and I always bring my lunch thing with my prepped food and all that and my folder and realize that I've got this reusable grocery bag that I use at Nutrition Stop and that stuck to the bottom and so that's in the middle of the parking lot. Okay, now I gotta go back to the car, but I bend down to pick that up, then my reading glasses fall. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be one of those days. It's going to be one of those days.
Oh, no.
And then you realize, wait a minute. The universe is not telling me it's going to be one of those days or that kind of nonsense. It's like, okay, I'll decide whether I have a crappy day or not. In other words, the jury's still out. Okay. So here's the thing. He said he didn't, but then he admits he did. Should one of the Trump administration's cabinet members get the boot over Epstein? Did you see this? Yeah. With Lutnick? Okay, so here's what's going on. The Commerce Secretary is facing demands for his resignation over ties to convicted sex offender. Well, to Jeffrey Epstein. Let's just put it that way. Here's the basics of the story.
In testimony before Congress, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick acknowledged that he had met with Epstein twice after his 2008 conviction for soliciting prostitution from a child. That contradicts his previous claim that he had decided to never be in the room with Epstein again after 2005. But the White House is standing by Lutnick.
Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary.
Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so it's not that somebody did business with Epstein or even ran in social circles with him prior to the knowledge of what he was doing or prior to the conviction. It's that he apparently lied, because I don't think at this point you forget that you met with Epstein after his conviction. So that's what it is. Now, you decide what you want to decide on that. I think that's going to be a really tough lift, and it's adding to the increasing number of those of us on the right who are going, why is the Trump administration now part of the cover-up?
Yes. I mean, and again, it's not just hanging out with him or having a meeting with him. It's quite literally, he said on tape that he brought his wife and kids to the island of Jeffrey Epstein after the conviction had happened.
Good
and
God.
And so I'm not trying to be too scandalous. I'm not trying to make insinuations, but given what we know and given what he would have known, and the fact that he originally did not want to disclose that information for whatever reason, and then suddenly, oh, I just forgot that I went to this island that is very distinct.
And that's the thing, though, is that it's not a matter of even did you go, because I even back, right after the conviction, that was bad, but I don't think back to 2008, I think that was. Is that what the year we're talking about when he was convicted?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're talking about, we knew he was a bad guy, but he wasn't the international news at the time. We didn't understand the scope of this back then.
Yeah.
Back then 18 years ago. It's that he apparently, the Secretary Lucknick apparently lied about it.
Mm-hmm.
And any time you lie about it, the initial response is, well, of course I don't want people knowing that. There's an embarrassment factor, but you're the Secretary of Commerce, and we've got people saying, follow the money.
Yep.
And so this does draw into question whether or not he should step aside. Listen, there are other people competent to be Secretary of Commerce, but this is not, at the very least, it is not a good look. But if you've got somebody who lied about meeting with Epstein and now has to admit under, questioning that, okay, I did after that conviction, even if he'd said, after that, we had business that we had to take care of, we were wrapping stuff up, whatever the case is, okay, it's not a good look, but business is business. I mean, in my course of media, there are times where I have sat down with people who, not good people, because I'm working on a thing. It doesn't mean I'm in business with him or I support him, but the fact that he lied about it, that's the problem here with Lutnick.
Yeah, and again, going to your point about doing business, I mean, if before the convictions or before whatever the case may be, if you had done an investment with Epstein and then you found out and you're like, well, I need to go get my money back because this guy's got my money. Okay, that's understandable. It's still kind of suspicious, but it's still understandable. It's the fact that this is something that you really, I don't think anybody could have forgotten, that he went to such a distinct island with your wife and kids. And then, oh yeah, that did happen. We had a family vacation at Epstein. That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that doesn't. And of course, there's more coming out with Congress members being allowed to look, and now some names are being named.
Yeah, so speaking of liars, it appears maybe Kash Patel might need to have his testimony to Congress re-examined because so Ro Khanna named 6 names. I can't pronounce all of them properly, so forgive me. But Les Wexner, the CEO of Victoria's Secret, is somebody that was named by both Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. And then Thomas Massie took it a step further and said Les Wexner, and he posted on his social media the alleged case file, that he was listed in the FBI as a co-conspirator with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, again, it could be a financial thing.
That's his accusation.
That is his accusation. But Les Wexner specifically was somebody that was redacted in the files that should not have been redacted. He's not a victim, and so that raises even further questions: is why is there an FBI file clearly labeled co-conspirator? Again, we don't know to what degree. And then Kash Patel and the DOJ is saying, yeah, there were no co-conspirators at all.
Yeah. All right. So keep an eye on all of that. Weird times that we're in, without a doubt.
You could say that again.
And then the chaos factor and the volume of information that's thrown at us that's accurate and not accurate, that's part of the tactic to keep us not on the trail.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, does having more economic freedom make a difference in people's lives, such as maybe helping reduce poverty?
It definitely makes a difference. Economic freedom is critical for fostering well-being and prosperity. It enables people to make their own choices and pursue their own interest, like choosing careers, starting businesses, and innovating to make the world better. It thrives in environments that empower people, promote competition, and protect property rights, all while being supported by limited and healthy government. Economic freedom is a catalyst for generating higher incomes, greater wealth, more opportunities, better access to education, and improved health at all levels of society. It makes a difference.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
It's more than a rebellion. When your teen is slipping into drugs or alcohol, when social media and pornography consume their time and their mind, when depression and even suicidal thoughts cast a shadow over your home, as a parent, you feel powerless. There is hope. At Turnabout Ranch, troubled teens step away from the chaos and into a clarity of nature on a working cattle ranch. Care for horses, learn responsibility, build trust, and rediscover purpose. It isn't theory, it's real work, real therapy, real healing. Families from across the country have found transformation right here, just when they thought hope was gone. If your teen is struggling with addiction, harmful online behaviors, even weight management, call right now and get the help you all need.
800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. That's 800-219-2494.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. Amrit Thomason. He was detained, questioned, and then released. Investigators working the Nancy Guthrie disappearance detained the individual in a traffic stop. They later searched a home in Rio Rico, Arizona. It's about an hour's drive south of Tucson, near the U.S.-Mexico border. The man questioned denies any knowledge of the Guthrie case. This follows the FBI's release of surveillance images from Nancy Guthrie's home showing a masked, gloved, and armed individual at her front door. It's been a deadly mass shooting in rural Western Canada.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police say 8 people, including the suspect, are dead after a shooting at a small school in British Columbia. And they say 2 more people were found dead at a home believed to be connected to the incident. In addition, another 25 people were injured, including 2 airlifted to hospital with life-threatening injuries. It happened at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. The town is more than 600 miles north of Vancouver and has a population of about 2,400. The incident is Canada's deadliest rampage since 2020, when a gunman in Nova Scotia killed 13 people and set fires that left another 9 dead. I'm Ben Thomas.
President Trump will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later today at the White House.
Netanyahu's visit to Washington comes as the United States is engaged in nuclear talks with Iran. Israel has a keen interest in the outcome, and the Prime Minister is expected to urge President Trump to take stronger action toward the Iranian government.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. Citing special security reasons, the FAA is closing the airspace around El Paso International Airport in Texas for 10 days. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are up 64 points. The NASDAQ futures ahead 6 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
This President's Day, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Benjamin Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G service. What's up with that? Ben Franklin wasn't even a president. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be in business with an American wireless company that supports our vets in a big way and keeps all their customer service in this country. That's important. And you'll be on the same towers the big carriers use, so you'll get the same 5G service without the inflated price. So hang on to your Benjamins and switch to Pure Talk for a Jackson and a Lincoln. No contract, no hidden fees. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll get 50% off your first month when you switch. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe, for an American wireless company that is truly unprecedented. Pure Talk.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the lower 50s this afternoon with mostly sunny skies, sinks of wind out of the north. Thursday, mostly cloudy, could see an isolated shower or two, 49 degrees. Friday, partly sunny, a high of 55. Into Saturday, could be tracking the possibility of some scattered showers. Temperatures back towards the lower 50s. Into Sunday, things will continue to rise with highs into the upper 50s. Going to be looking at clearing skies as the day continues on. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration, Whistle Pig Outdoors, and Alamo Military Collectibles. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. On the next Larry Connors USA.
Today's story behind the story: when the Soviet Union shot down a commercial jetliner.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you being intentionally dense?
Susie Moore.
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
We're a different kind of clown show.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. Get up! This is your cousin.
All right, investigators say there's been some movement in the case of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance.
Yeah.
A couple different aspects of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do some basics here, and then let's dive into a little bit of 620.
Okay.
All right. Also, is the CCP targeting Christians inside the United States? Don't put it past them. We know they're pretty deviant when it comes to what they're willing to do inside this country. So this story should be a wake-up call. And the Illini go into overtime again. It's 2 overtime games in a row for Illinois. All right, 6:06 right now. Let's go ahead and get started with the news dump.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
Okay, a grand jury declines to indict Democratic lawmakers in connection with that video message to military members.
Late last year, the Justice Department opened an investigation into Senators Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin and 4 other Democratic lawmakers. In their video, they reminded U.S. service members to follow established military protocols and to resist illegal orders. At the time, President Trump called it seditious behavior by the lawmakers and punishable by death. But a grand jury in Washington declined to indict them. Greg Clugston, Washington.
All right. Unless Pete Hegseth looks for some internal way from a criminal perspective, I would suspect this is going to be the end of it. I doubt that the Trump administration is going to try to take another route, but they may look for something internally the way that they've done with Kelly before.
Well, yeah, and there's different layers to it because there's the military aspect where there could still be repercussions. Yeah, I don't know that I was really expecting that to become a criminal case. I'm always a little leery of these reports because now we're getting them breathlessly every time a grand jury declined to indict. Well, you don't normally hear that information. So why are we getting all this information? And it's always from people familiar with the matter.
Right.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying until there's like confirmation or a comment from the administration, I'm always a little leery of those stories. But I also am not convinced that this was a criminal matter to pursue. Not that they shouldn't have opened an investigation.
Right.
But maybe.
Yeah, see, I agree. I think going the criminal route, I think they overreached on that.
Yeah,
Not that there shouldn't not that there shouldn't have been a discussion over possible consequences.
Yeah,
but I think going for the criminal side, they may have reached.
They're not going to get a grand jury indictment in D.C. That's the problem. This is the same, not the same grand jury, but it's the same area from which grand juries happily indicted President Trump without batting an eye, apparently, and people that were walking in the Capitol on January 6th. But it's 95+% Democrat. Yeah. I don't know how you get a grand jury indictment on anything remotely political.
Yeah,
in D.C.
So that's where that is. We'll see where it goes. All right, the FBI now releasing images of a possible suspect, definitely a suspicious-looking human being, given the ski mask and gloves and everything, is one of
lurking around at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Yeah.
Amid the search for Nancy Guthrie, and so of course Nancy Guthrie, as you probably know, the mother of NBC Today co-host Savannah Guthrie. The masked person was spotted on a doorbell camera the night that she disappeared from the home. Imagine that. They think there might be a connection. And FBI Director Kash Patel was on Fox's Hannity saying the agency is still basically still very active in the investigation.
We're going to go out and talk to anyone who has information or we believe has information in this or is involved in this tangentially or otherwise. And we're going to continue to develop those leads, continue to serve legal process, continue to work with our private sector partners, and continue to produce as much information publicly as we can.
Okay, so we'll go into more depth on this at 6:20, but a couple of bottom line bullet points here. There has been somebody detained.
Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you.
Yeah.
No. They've been released.
They have been released.
They just now announced that the person has been released.
Okay.
It's like, okay, it reminded me of the Brown University situation.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were questioned, obviously, and so we'll get into whatever that new aspect of it is here in just a minute. $50,000 reward for information is still out there. Here's the other interesting part, and I say there was some movement on this. Authorities are also reporting that activity in the Bitcoin wallet from the person who sent the ransom note, that was apparently been detected.
Yes.
And that means a payment could have been made to whoever that person
or someone was testing it to
Right.
see if it could receive the funds.
Yeah, and I'm going to rely on other people's knowledge because I don't have a cryptocurrency wallet, so you guys are going to have to fill me in more.
That's going to be Jerome, not me.
I got you.
Exactly. All right, here, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, as you know, his latest push has to do with banning sanctuary cities. He's put forward a bill that says we'll end that concept forever in the country by imposing penalties on state and local officials who refuse to cooperate with ICE and or try to block the operations of federal law enforcement. On Kudlow last night on Fox Business, President Trump says the sanctuary cities have got to go because all they do is promote crime.
Lindsey Graham is really hot on getting rid of sanctuary cities. I'm backing him 100%. We got to do it. We're hot, and it's sort of the Security Act, you could call it, but we have to do it.
Okay, so specifically the bill penalizes officials for not allowing agents to enter jails and also requires them to turn over anything related to immigration records.
Yeah. I mean, I think if there's going to be movement on this at the federal level, now is the time.
Yeah.
Because it's really been highlighting the issues that presents have really been highlighted.
Yeah, and the president's 100% right about that.
Yeah.
I mean, without a doubt. All right. There is now a call in Congress for action to be taken against China.
The communist government in Beijing persecutes Christians within its borders, but it doesn't stop there. The Congressional Executive Committee on China is urging Congress and the president to do something about China's campaigns against Chinese Christians living here in the U.S. The committee says China uses verbal and online harassment to silence believers in this country and sometimes even resorts to physical intimidation by communist agents. Michael Harrington reporting.
And you may say, well, how can they do that? Just to block them on social media or block them on the email. But that's not that simple. There have actually been confirmed, we have caught the CCP with running clandestine, basically CCP police offices inside the United States to monitor and still go after Chinese residents or expats or citizens, and they have actually been operating within the United States. That was discovered and confirmed about 2.5 years ago.
I wrote on it extensively in Boston and New York. Yeah, there were several of them, and it's there's a lot going on under the surface that we're not seeing. And then you've got the biolabs, and then I mean, there's a lot of issues here. So people who don't think that there's reach from, other countries that are not our friends into the U.S., well, that's naive.
Yeah, but actual organized Chinese Communist police in the United States. This is a reminder of this, to see who they're targeting. So the CCP has no regard for our, obviously, borders or sovereignty. They demand the respect for theirs, but that's their world domination worldview.
Let's not forget all of the people at the border that
Right.
were Chinese nationals.
Right.
How'd they get there?
Right. Yeah, they had help.
We don't have a border with China.
No, we don't. All right, this is interesting. One of the more iconic movie props is now on display in Missouri, but you'd have to go to Branson to see it. But I suspect there are probably some people who will. Okay, so here's what's going on. It's a piece of wood, but it's not just a piece of wood. It's the prop door that Kate Winslet's character, Rose, floated on in Titanic at the end of the movie. Yeah, so that's now on display at the Titanic Museum attraction. It's the centerpiece of a new display that also includes some other props and some of the clothes worn in the 1997 movie.
Wow. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And the Titanic, I've never been in the Titanic Museum there in Branson. I've driven past it. The thing's actually really, really massive. It's big.
Wow.
And I don't know what the connection Branson has to it, but they've got a big interest in it.
Interesting. No, I've not been to that either. Yeah, that's one of those things that was like, that was such an epic movie. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. And the movie holds up. It's a good movie.
I don't know if I could sit through it again, though.
It's a long movie.
Because you know how it ends.
I know. That's right. Did they make it? No. Okay. I don't want to spoil in case you haven't seen it.
She just held on a little.
I know. And then there was the big debate. Could Jack have fit on the piece of wood?
Yeah, I
That
mean,
was the debate.
I think Rose might be the villain.
I've heard that. That's the new thing.
Just saying.
Yeah, the Titanic, if you are a lady, it seems to be more of a romance film. But I'm telling you, from a guy's perspective, it's a horror film.
Especially when she's swinging the axe, like when he's got the handcuffs on.
Well, I've heard people say, they're like, well, this Valentine's Day, we should watch it. It's such a great love story. I'm like, this is not
from the dude's perspective.
And not from the husband. She's regaling an event
that's
that happened.
true, too.
Yeah, see, I thought that too. Like, all these years later, she's like obsessing over the fling she had on a boat. And she's got like,
Well, sometimes you just have that connection. I don't know.
Man. All right. The Illini have now lost 2 games in a row. Last night's loss was another one that went into overtime. 2 overtimes in a row. Despite having a 12-point lead, Illinois ends up on the losing end of a 92-90 game against Wisconsin, and that was on the road last night.
They need to get it together.
Yeah, so Illinois is probably going to drop out of the top 10 in next week's rankings with 2 losses in a row. So I suspect that now what they're playing for is like, oh, crap, we got to get up far enough again, run on a real hot streak in order to get one of those top 2 seeds in the regionals in the NCAA. Yeah. And SLU doesn't play again till Friday.
Okay.
Mike Ferguson.
It's a Will Mannett,
Susie Moore.
and Woman It.
On NewsTalk STL.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Cap Pastrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator, did Pete Hegseth commit a war crime, in your opinion?
No. My only concern is that we're not getting enough drug boats. It's the first effective thing I can remember we've done to strike at these cartels, not only to take out particular shipments of drugs, but to deter others. And I'm not going to cry crocodile tears for any of them.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, this case just getting stranger by the day. But someone was detained and now within minutes ago, we learned released by the police in connection to the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. Okay, so Susie, this is just happening. You've got the info and I don't. What's going on here?
And I was following this all very closely last night because I was manning the desk or womaning the desk. For
redstate.com.
For Red State, of course. In case you didn't know.
In case you didn't know,
okay, so first of all, they released yesterday this Nest. It wasn't Ring.
Mm-hmm.
It was Nest camera footage that shows this shadowy figure approaching the camera at some point, trying to block it with plants or flowers. It was really weird.
And he puts up like a gloved hand. It was weird because when he put his hand up there, it almost looked like a boxing glove.
The gloves were weird. They were very smooth. They almost looked like boxing gloves. Yeah. He had a ski mask on. And I'm saying they're not, they can't say 100% for sure, but the figure seemed to move more like a male. And it seemed at one point you could see through the ski mask that there was a mustache. So I'm going to say he for now.
Or
anyway,
a really ugly she.
Right.
Okay, but
this person is lurking around outside Nancy Guthrie's doorbell or front door the night that she disappears. So presumably is connected. It's got a backpack, got a gun. It's got a gun that they're carrying in the center front of their belt, which is a little unusual.
A little dangerous.
Some would say, and I have not been able to verify this independently. Jerome, you might have some insight on this, but I've heard that referred to as a Mexican carry. And I don't think that that's pejorative. I don't think that's
just the style.
Yeah.
I've not actually heard that term for.
I've
what we call
heard that term. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say because when I think of that, I think of the bandito, but that's usually higher up on your waist next to your side.
Yeah, I saw several different people mentioning that yesterday. So I don't know, but it's an unusual carry, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's not common.
It's not common. Okay, so we see all this. They release all this. They were able to go back basically into the bowels of Google and retrieve this data because she didn't have a subscription. She didn't have this stuff uploading to the cloud.
Oh.
This was like going back through like the digital
back channels
and finding whatever it was able to just capture. So that's its own little
so
story.
that's interesting because if she doesn't have that subscription, somebody can still tap into your camera.
And
The
so
company- the company can.
It's still recording even if you don't have that
It's
subscription.
recording some information, so it's
Wow.
not going to be the same as if you had the full service, that sort of thing. But it's still capturing some data, and they were able to work quickly and get that put together. Which in this case, obviously, you know that's presumably helpful. Shortly after that, we're seeing signs that SWAT vehicles, a bomb. What do they call them?
Bomb squad.
Bomb squad, but it was something else. They called
Bomb
something
and
else.
arson.
Like the. It's going to come to me anyway. There's a lot of movement coming out of Pima County, and these vehicles are moving south, and they're all kind of like, okay, something's going on. Something's going on. There was a lot of activity around the Sisters neighborhood, which is like 4 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home, and they were like canvassing the area and that sort of thing. And so you kind of got the feeling something was going to happen. And then, like about 9 o'clock our time last night, they're like, oh, a person's been detained near Rio Rico, which is about an hour south of Guthrie's house and about 10 miles from the border. So that it was like, okay, is this someone who's running? You know, that sort of thing. So they detained this person. They didn't say person of interest. They didn't say suspect. They said they detained a person. And then just now we're seeing that person has been released. So, which is that man.
Which doesn't mean they were cleared.
It doesn't mean they were cleared. It means that they didn't have enough to hold him, and we know that person is a man.
Right.
So, and on top of that, then there was this activity in the Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah. So, and again, I'm not being a crypto guy, so they're detecting movement, which means whatever investigative body can track that something is happening there. So it's not as underground or anonymous as a lot of people think that it is. It's not as secure as people think that it is.
Yeah, there are ways of making it more secure, but it's really been deciphered by the federal authorities how to actually track it. So essentially what that means is so a Bitcoin is a string of codes. So if you think of like an actual physical chain, right? One of the coins would be one of the links. And so essentially how it works is that when you buy it, you get a receipt, like a ledger. So if you go to a store, you buy something, you have that receipt. The receipt is what you trade with people as confirmation of the coin. And you can cut the receipts to different parts and everything like that. That's how it's verified. So if they're seeing activity, that means that the person's wallet has to be online. So think of like a cloud database type thing. So it's connected some way to the internet, or it's through some service, and they've detected that part of that ledger or a receipt or something happened that pinged it. And so I guess either they were sending a payment to somebody or that they received a payment, something that nature.
Okay, so let me ask what's going to be, and I mean this word in the denotative sense, an ignorant question about this. So they said activity of the person that they think might have been connected to the ransom node.
The wallet.
The wallet,
Yeah.
So does that mean that they know who the possible person is, or can that person still remain anonymous even though they have identified the online wallet? And that I asked that out of true ignorance because I don't know the answer.
So in theory, potentially, if they had some sort of other way to verify who that belongs to, then yes. Otherwise, no, because you can create a wallet completely anonymous. So it'd be the idea of, let's say you created a fake PayPal account and then you sign up for a free trial. They're going to ping the account to make sure it's a real account. And then from there, that might just be it. So you could have a completely fake identity and still have a wallet. You could have no identity tied to it. But if they are able to confirm that the link or whatever was used for the ransom note has been used elsewhere, has received payments elsewhere, I mean, that's how they sort of triangulate this stuff. But it's still not a guarantee because you can steal somebody else's wallet and use that as a blank thing.
So Susie, we don't know what the activity was. They just say that there was something.
So TMZ was reporting on it, but they were very, very limited in what they would disclose because they said, we've agreed not to share additional information. They just said that there was activity on it. One of the local news stations that was one of the ones that received the ransom note said that there was a $300 transaction. So that's not ransom. That could be someone pinging it to see, what kind of response it gets, basically to verify that it's there, just like Jerome was talking about. But that's the limited information we have. But all of that was going on at once, so it really seemed like, okay, something's breaking here. Something, they're getting somewhere. I'm always, like I was saying before, it kind of reminded me of the Brown University situation where they picked up a person of interest, they called him, right away, like the weekend that it happened, and then it was like, oh no, this guy has nothing to do with it, and that guy had nothing to do with it. So it's like, I don't know where we are with this.
Well, and things regarding Bitcoin specifically, typically, if you want it to be anonymous, you would have like an intermediary where you would have them. So the receipt would be sent to one person, and then that person would then send it to you as a form, another like layer of anonymity. So it could be the case too. And I don't want to speculate. I don't want to poison the well of this, but it could be that maybe they found somebody that was linked to the wallet that is like an intermediary, but was not the actual person that did the crime.
Could be. We know very little about this person, although his mother-in-law was out front and center talking to the cameras and saying he was delivering food for like DoorDash when he got picked up, and he didn't have anything to do with this. So, I mean, she could be lying. She could be mistaken. But it's like, okay, that seems a little off, too.
I actually had somebody, or I saw, I don't know the person, saying, is this just because it's a celebrity case that the feds are involved? Well, no. This is the type of thing FBI would get involved in because
it is, yeah.
You're talking about, first of all, you're talking about a kidnapping. The FBI is off to gold. And now you're talking about cryptocurrency that goes beyond state borders. So it's actually not weird that the FBI is getting. Now, the fact that they're talking about it on TV, that's because of the interest, because of the celebrity connection. But this is the type of case the FBI absolutely would get involved in on a normal basis, even if it doesn't make the news.
And I've got very limited experience with the publicity around kidnapping or public, disappearance cases. But one of our commenters, Tom, says the longer it goes on, the more it starts to feel more like an inside job, meaning a relative or a neighbor could have done that. Is that a rational or reasonable interpretation of the event so far?
Well, I think I'm not an expert in criminology, but I would
rule anything out, but I don't know.
I would say that just from being a regular viewer of Criminal Minds and SVU and that sort of thing, generally
you're an expert.
Generally, the first place they're going to look is someone associated. For a complete stranger abduction, that is very rare because it's like, what's the nexus? What even generated that? There is definitely additional buzz around this because Savannah Guthrie is a celebrity. But this is, to me, similar to the Elizabeth Smart case or other cases where there was a stranger abduction basically from someone's home. In that case, Elizabeth Smart was a child, but then all of a sudden the whole nation is like focused in on it because it's kind of this weird, creepy mystery thing. So it's like real-time true crime. Everyone's just dialed in because of that. So now everyone's just sort of like spun up. It's like with OJ, when that was all going down, the Bronco chase, like everyone was tuned into that because it was just so fascinating on top of the celebrity aspect of it.
Yeah. And there was no social media at the time, and we still managed to find a way to.
Somehow we had our own social media.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. There was enough buzz around that whole situation that it definitely was viral.
Gossip at the grocery store, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Looks like I do know as well. I mean, I think if I'm remembering correctly, most actual kidnapping cases are from like a disgruntled parent or somebody losing visitation rights, and then that sort of sparks off a whole thing. It's very rare for strangers to do it, which I think is also probably why people are starting to become more speculative because I don't know, the Bitcoin element, I don't think enough people really know enough about Bitcoin to try to use that as a ransom method. I think if there was going to be an inside job, it would have been give me non-sequential unmarked bills like in the movie in a big bag with a money sign on it.
Well, you don't know who has familiarity with it and who doesn't, though. That's the thing.
That is very true, too.
But yeah, I mean, I guarantee they're looking very closely at anyone that actually knew Nancy Guthrie because for someone randomly just decided to abduct an 84-year-old woman is very strange.
Side note, the video that, I guess not Ring, Nest. Am I the only one who looked at that and went, okay, is that real or is that one of those AI things? Because the AI is getting so good that I'm like, it kind of looks like the ones that turn out to be AI, but I guess it is confirmed it is a real video.
Well, the authorities are putting it out there as though it is.
Yeah.
So I would think that would be one of the first things. They would probably know where they got it from.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
Okay.
Also, just before we go take a step back real quick, I want to confirm, so the Mexican carry thing, it technically was called Mexican carry, but it was a misnomer because it was a way that old Civil War and cowboys used to carry the formal term is appendix carry.
Okay.
It's in the front like that. I just wanted to say that you were right.
Okay.
On technicality.
And again, I was hoping I wasn't being pejorative with that. I really was not trying to be.
One sneeze away from losing.
Oh. Now, before we take a step back, I would like to remind all of you guys, it is Bump Day.
Bump Day!
And so this week's theme is going to be Valentine's Day song, either for songs to have a very nice Valentine's Day or to bump when you're lonely if you got dumped on Red Tuesday. So send your Valentine's Day 80s theme music to Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Let me just say this with all due respect. You really don't know what you're talking about right now.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the lower 50s this afternoon with mostly sunny skies, sinks of winds out of the north. Thursday, mostly cloudy, could see an isolated shower or two, 49 degrees. Friday, partly sunny, a high of 55. Into Saturday, could be tracking the possibility of some scattered showers. Temperatures back towards the lower 50s. Into Sunday, things will continue to rise with highs into the upper 50s. Want to be looking at clearing skies as the day continues on. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
What happens next?
Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this.
Happens right here.
We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Carl Higbee, host of Frontline on Newsmax TV, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, those Biden-era regulations still costing us, well, money at the expense of big government. That's what's costing us with all these regulations. That's been one of the things that I think the Trump administration, I've got plenty of critiques about a lot of his policies, but his targeting regulations has been spot on.
Yeah.
You know, that's a huge aspect and the thing that so many people don't really understand. So is there progress being made when it comes to rolling back some of these expensive, and almost all of these were done in the name of, green stuff, environmentalist
saving
stuff.
the planet.
Right, exactly. Marlo Lewis Jr. from the Competitive Enterprise Institute wrote about this. You can find it at cei.org, and Marlo joins us right now. Marlo, the blog post, NHTSA's proposed fuel economy reset, putting consumers in the driver's seat. That sounds really wonky, but really what we're talking about is there were regulations imposed by the Biden administration that's making products worse and more expensive for us, and now we've got some movement on trying to return back to something that's at least a little more of a free market, if I'm reading your story right. Am I close?
That is exactly right, Mike. And let me just spell it out for people, because it is kind of wonky. We try to keep the titles of our blog posts short, so we use the acronym NHTSA, and that stands for National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. That's the part of the Department of Transportation that prescribes and enforces fuel economy standards for automobiles. Yeah, and there's been tremendous rollback in progress during just this first year of the Trump administration. The worst offender here really is the Environmental Protection Agency. And what the EPA did under the Biden administration was give California, we would say, an unlawful authorization to squeeze internal combustion engine vehicles, gasoline and diesel powered cars, out of the entire marketplace in the state of California by the year 2035. And then there's an opt-in provision under part of the Clean Air Act that says that whenever California has these standards approved by the EPA, other states can opt in. And so all kinds of blue states were going to get ready to ban the internal combustion engine vehicle, the gasoline-powered car. So consumer choices would have been dramatically crushed. We all know that electric vehicles cost a lot more than gasoline-powered cars. And so automobiles were going to become very much more expensive, and there would be fewer choices. And the auto industry would take a beating because it means their best-selling models they could no longer sell. Now, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration had a milder version of this. And the reason they had a milder version is that there's actually a provision in their governing statute that basically prohibits them from playing games like this or from doing this, but they interpreted the statute, what they said was a narrow interpretation, which really means a loose interpretation, so that they could actually put pressure on automakers, again, to electrify their fleets, to defy consumer choice, and make cars more expensive. So anyway, the President Trump and Congress eliminated by legislation California's ability to forcibly electrify all automobiles sold into the state. That happened last June, and then in August, the Trump administration EPA has proposed to eliminate the EPA's own greenhouse gas emission standards for motor vehicles, which were a de facto electric vehicle mandate. And now the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has proposed to restore the original meaning of the statute. The result is that instead of an automobile in 2032 being required, instead of the average automobile, in other words, you look at all the different automobiles that an automaker sells, instead of those having to have a fuel economy rating superior to today's best performing Prius hybrid, it would be rolled back almost by half. And so now all these standards are feasible. The internal combustion engine vehicle is no longer in threat of extinction, and consumers should be able to avoid, just from this reform by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, consumers should be able to avoid an extra expense of $900 per vehicle on average by the year 2031.
Good morning, Marlo.
So that's where we are. We're on a roll back.
Sorry about that, Marlo. This is Susie Moore. A follow-up question, kind of more about the procedural aspect of this, because I think most people are used to seeing, legislation being hashed out in Congress or signed by the president or executive orders. But when we're talking about the rulemaking process, which is what you submitted a comment to NHTSA regarding this proposed rule. Let folks know a little bit about how that process works.
Well, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is required to set what are called maximum feasible fuel economy standards. And this is it's always for a 5-year period at a time. So the current rulemaking was, and the Biden administration standards were for the model years 2027 through 2031. So that's a 5-year period. Now, what is maximum feasible? Well, by the statute, it means that NHTSA, or this part of the Department of Transportation, has to weigh and balance 4 different factors. One of them is technological feasibility. Obviously, you can't have a standard that exceeds the technical capability of an automobile. But in fact, that's what they were trying to do here. The other factor is what's called economic practicability. And that covers a whole range of things. One of them is, well, how much is this going to cost the consumer? How much is it going to cost the automakers to comply? What is the consumer acceptance of, what are consumers willing to buy? Another factor is that the Department of Transportation took into account here under economic practicability, and I think it was very smart that they did, is that fuel economy standards have diminishing returns. We're now at the point where every additional increment in fuel economy achieves less reduction in expenses at the gas station. It achieves less of a reduction in pain at the pump. Another thing is that one of the factors is the need of the nation to conserve energy, and that need diminishes when domestic oil production is greater and the average gasoline prices are lower. So the Trump administration is forecasting that U.S. oil production over the next several years is going to boom, and gasoline prices are going to keep coming down as they have since the Biden administration. So taking all of those things into account means that the maximum feasible level would be much less than the Biden administration calculated. The Biden administration inflated its calculation by playing fast and loose with restrictions in the law that say that NHTSA cannot consider the market penetration, the market share of electric vehicles and other vehicles that don't run chiefly or solely on gasoline and diesel when it is calculating the baseline fuel economy. In other words, the projection out under current law and policy, what average fuel economy will be achieved going forward. That's the baseline. Okay, now we're going to see what is maximum feasible above the baseline. They inflated the baseline by unlawfully considering the market penetration of battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid vehicles in this baseline. They also unlawfully considered the availability of what are called CAFE compliance credits, or the fuel economy compliance credits, which are earned in large numbers by electric vehicle makers. These are just windfall profits because they don't even produce cars that in fact have fuel economy because they don't run on gasoline. So unfortunately under the law, they get or under the regulations, they get these gigantic numbers of fuel economy credits just by doing what they do for a living. So it's a windfall profit. Tesla, for example, would make billions of dollars a year just selling these windfall CAFE credits to legacy automakers that do make gasoline and diesel-powered cars. And so the Biden administration said, well, they can comply with technically unachievable standards. They just need to submit CAFE credits that they purchased from Tesla. So the old arrangement under Biden was to put pressure on automakers to electrify their fleets or subsidize electric vehicle manufacturers like Tesla. Well, that was exactly what this provision in the statute was included to prevent, that kind of market distorting pressure and subsidy for electrification. And they just finessed their way around it. But now the Trump administration is saying, no, the statute is unequivocal. You can't do it.
Marlo, and I just got a minute or so left here. If this is something the Trump administration can come in from an executive perspective, the way the Biden administration did, roll back the bad regulations and rules and bad ideas from the Biden administration, could the next president then just take it the wrong direction again? I mean, is this something that Congress should get in and just put a stop to? Or is this going to be a matter of, well, the rules are going to be based on whoever's elected?
It's somewhere in between there. Yes, Congress could always make this more definitive. But the thing is that this, I think, is what the Trump administration is proposing is such a clear and unequivocal reading of the law that it would be very hard for the next administration to come in and say, no, the law really doesn't mean what it says.
Got it. All right. Marlo Lewis Jr. from CEI. CEI.org is where you're going to find that article. People want to connect with you, follow your work directly. Should they do it through CEI, or do you have social media you want to put out there?
No, do it through CEI.org.
All right. Sounds good. Marlo, thanks so much for the update.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thanks, Marlo. You know, we got something exciting coming up in about a week and a half.
Yeah?
February.
Cardinals are going to win a game?
May.
Okay.
Well, that might be a little before they're actually playing a game.
yeah.
No. You can join Tim and Chris live.
They're going to win an intra-squad game.
Mike.
Sorry.
Get your head out of baseball. You got to join Tim and Chris live at the Missouri GOP State Lincoln Days in Springfield on February 20th. The event runs Friday, February 20th through the 22nd at the Oasis Hotel and Convention Center in Springfield, Missouri. And on Friday, February 20th, the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show will broadcast live as part of the Missouri GOP State Lincoln Days festivities. So if you want tickets and more information, go to Missouri State Lincoln Days 2025.ticketspice.com.
It's a hit. Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
His verbal skills are limited.
Susie Moore.
Woman with the wild hair.
On News Talk STL. St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad, but I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great, sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
All right, investigators say there's been movement in the case of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, and we're seeing a lot of movement this morning.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of Newsmax now reporting they've got some of the details of the ransom note as well. So some of that's coming to light. Is the CCP targeting Christians inside the United States? I would not put it past them. The Illini go into overtime again, 2 times in a row. It is 6:51. Let's sneak in another news dump here.
successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, so those Democratic lawmakers who put that video message out to members of the military, that was a big thing not too long ago.
The seditious six.
This has gone to a grand jury, so what's happened from there?
Late last year, the Justice Department opened an investigation into Senators Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin and 4 other Democratic lawmakers. In their video, they reminded U.S. service members to follow established military protocols and to resist illegal orders. At the time, President Trump called it seditious behavior by the lawmakers and punishable by death. But a grand jury in Washington declined to indict them. Greg Clugston, Washington.
In other words, the big talking points mess either came to an end on this or just goes another direction after this.
Yeah. I don't know that I ever really felt like this was going to turn into a criminal case. Yeah. I think there are still, questions of consequences for doing this. To me, the cynic that I am, it all was just like, they were setting up, impeachment 3.0. It didn't quite execute the way that they thought it was going to, so they may abandon and regroup. But that's what it read like to me.
In other words, Washington, D.C. remains a battle royale.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go in there and knock some heads together.
I'm for that.
I'm going.
You're going next week?
I'm going next week.
That's right. All right. On Tuesday, the FBI released images of I guess I would say possible suspect, but very suspicious person amid the search for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of NBC Today co-host Savannah Guthrie. The masked person was spotted on a doorbell camera the night that she disappeared from home, meaning it's safe to say that's suspicious. FBI Director Kash Patel called into Fox's Hannity talking about the agency's involvement in the investigation.
Late last year, the Justice Department opened...
Oops, wrong one. There it is. Here's Kash Patel. Here he is.
We're going to go out and talk to anyone who has information or we believe has information in this or is involved in this tangentially or otherwise, and we're going to continue to develop those leads, continue to serve legal process, continue to work with our private sector partners, and continue to produce as much information publicly as we can.
And you probably woke up this morning to seeing news that somebody had been detained for questioning in this. Well, that person's been released.
He has.
Yeah.
We don't know a whole lot about him other than he was allegedly, at least according to his mother-in-law, in the middle of delivering food when they...
Yeah, and he actually has done some interviews with local TV.
Yeah, I think he's talking now too.
Yeah, basically trying to essentially, clear his name now that he's been all over the media. So could very well be just a guy who happened to be delivering stuff. You never know.
Then there was something that had them zero in on him. We just don't know what it was.
Yeah. All right, there is now a call in Congress for action to be taken against China.
The communist government in Beijing persecutes Christians within its borders, but it doesn't stop there. The Congressional Executive Committee on China is urging Congress and the president to do something about China's campaigns against Chinese Christians living here in the U.S. The committee says China uses verbal and online harassment to silence believers in this country and sometimes even resorts to physical intimidation by communist agents. Michael Harrington reporting.
And you always want to wait and get all the facts, but this is something that we know the Chinese Communist Party is 100% willing and capable of doing because they've been doing similar things like this for years within the U.S. borders.
Yeah, this is consistent with their other behavior, like you were mentioning, the police stations, the spying activity, the biolabs. There's a whole lot of, I don't know, do we just call it espionage?
Yeah, it's almost like they're not our friends.
It's almost like
almost like that.
Yeah.
We should bring 600,000 of.
They tried to give us a big balloon.
Yeah, that's right. They did, and they're willing to take up 600,000 spaces in American universities and colleges.
That's very giving.
Yeah, exactly. Oh goodness. All right. The reporters still asking the administration about that video that was posted by the president on his True Social account that included that clip showing Barack and Michelle Obama as apes. Speaking to reporters, Vice President J.D. Vance says he's with the president and he doesn't feel that the president or the administration should apologize.
Should he apologize for posting a video and then taking it down? No, I don't think so. I think people post things on social media, and if you post something you don't like it, you can just take it down, and that's what he did.
And that was deleted later, and the president says that a staffer put that up not knowing that clip was part
of the video, which was actually about election machines in like Georgia.
What lesson are we going to learn from this, folks?
Look at your entire post before you post it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Not that specific,
Right, yeah.
but I mean, sometimes I retweet something without having watched the entire video. You probably want to do that.
I tagged somebody once and I went, I've never actually looked at their Twitter account. Oh, crap. I need to get that off there, not because of what I posted, but because of what's on their account. Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
sometimes it's worth doing that little extra reconnaissance.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you that story. I'll start off
Okay.
there to see whether this makes it onto the air. All right, the Illini have now lost 2 games in a row. Last night's loss was another one that went into overtime, and lost against Michigan in Michigan, and now they've lost in overtime against Wisconsin. And Illinois at one point had a 12-point lead, but they end up on the losing end of a 92-90 game on that. So Illinois is likely going to drop out of the top 10 after this week. Spring training now officially underway for the Cardinals. Pitchers and catchers have reported to Jupiter.
Woohoo!
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fenceworks. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too. And we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
This hour from Town Hall, I'm Rich Thomason. He says his name is Carlos and he's the man detained and questioned by authorities investigating the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. His home in Rio Rico, Arizona, it's about an hour south of Tucson, was searched, and Carlos, who says he's innocent of any wrongdoing, was later released. All of this follows the release of a key piece of evidence in the baffling case.
Authorities investigating the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie releasing the first surveillance images Tuesday showing a person on her porch wearing a full head mask, jacket, backpack, and gloves the night she went missing. Authorities searching for the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie have not identified any suspects or persons of interest. FBI Director Kash Patel posting the images on X, saying the video was recovered from residual data located in back-end systems.
Correspondent Julie Walker. In British Columbia, a deadly mass shooting.
This is a devastating day for a close-knit community, and the loss being felt is profound.
British Columbia's Public Safety Minister Nina Krieger says a total of 9 people were killed at 2 locations, one of them a school, the other a home nearby. This happened in Tumbler Ridge. It's about 600 miles north of Vancouver. The shooter, identified only as a female, also died apparently of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. There's been no word of a motive. We don't know exactly what prompted this. Federal Aviation Administration closing the airspace around El Paso International Airport in Texas for 10 days, grounding all flights to and from the airport. Special security reasons are cited, but no further details have been provided. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures are higher this hour. The Dow futures are up about 45 points. The NASDAQ futures ahead 20. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. I've always been a strong believer in precious metals investment, and I've always been fascinated with rare coin collecting. But owning the wrong coins that only make dealers a lot of money can be catastrophic for your investment portfolio. AmFed Coin and Bullion specializes in taking people out of non-performing coin portfolios and turning them into gold, silver, or platinum bullion. They tailor a portfolio based on your goals and not what they want to sell you. You'll never experience scare tactics, misleading hype, or high-pressure sales from owner Nick Grovich and his very knowledgeable staff. They will evaluate your portfolio, show you how your coins have performed, and take the time to educate you on the ugly industry practices so that you can make an informed decision. Smart people can make very bad investments when they're under pressure and lack the facts. Call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the lower 50s this afternoon with mostly sunny skies, sinks of winds out of the north. Thursday, mostly cloudy, could see an isolated shower or two, 49 degrees. Friday, partly sunny, a high of 55. Into Saturday, could be tracking the possibility of some scattered showers. Temperatures back towards the lower 50s. Into Sunday, things will continue to rise with highs into the upper 50s. Going to be looking at clearing skies as the day continues on. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no from anyone.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Breaking news on News Talk STL.
Okay, we've got a situation that is in El Paso that is raising a lot of eyebrows. We're talking about essentially all commercial flight being shut down with very serious threats to anybody who goes into the airspace. Susie, what do we know so far?
Very little. The FAA has issued what it's called Notice to Airmen, and I don't know if it's NOTAM or NOTAM, how they pronounce the acronym. Wednesday morning, closing the airspace over western Texas city of El Paso for the next 10 days, citing special security reasons. The notice itself basically says no one is flying in or out of there, and if you do, you may be subject to criminal penalties or the use of deadly force.
In other words,
if you go into the El Paso airspace, you fly in, you could be shot down by the U.S. military.
That's what this notice appears to say.
And obviously, they're not giving a reason other than they're indicating that
unspecified it could be special security reasons.
10 days, which
10 days.
Certainly they could lift it before that.
Sure.
So that's all we know. But that is, I don't know that in all my years of doing media that I've ever heard of an order like that other than 9/11.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll if we get more information. In the meantime, we will bring that to you, but that's happening in El Paso, Texas.
If any of my people get me any more insight on it, I will share that as well.
Absolutely. Okay, 707. It's not just that the hard right and the hard left disagree on stuff. Okay, that's to be expected.
Yeah.
That's not even necessarily unhealthy, if it's done in the right way. It's that we see the entire world and apparently the afterworld completely differently. We're looking at one thing and somebody says, look at X. And one side says, yep, I see A. The other side says, I see B.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to admit my bias here going into this discussion, okay? But I do not understand how a left-wing viewpoint or a left-wing mindset can be compatible with Christianity. Now, that's not to say everybody on the right gets it right.
No.
I think there's a lot of very, very misguided people who make politics their religion. This Christian nationalism nonsense, for instance. But the issues that I'm seeing on the right, I don't even think compared to the fringe left's efforts to claim Christendom as one of their values. So there was a hearing yesterday on Capitol Hill. Yeah, you know where this is going here, right? And it was over the tactics that federal law enforcement, ICE, are using. And Todd Lyons, the acting ICE director, was being questioned, and he was being questioned by Congresswoman Monica McIver. And I know you may be thinking, wait a minute, I know that name.
Mm-hmm.
I know that name. Where do I know the name? Well, she's the one of those who assaulted federal law enforcement outside of the detention facility in New Jersey, which that case has not been disposed of yet.
No, she's still ongoing.
She's literally facing criminal charges for this. She also thinks of herself as a smart person.
Okay.
And so here's part of how she decided to go after and thought she was going to embarrass Todd Lyons in this hearing.
So let me ask you some questions that you may be able to answer. Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh, okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government...
The gentlelady will suspend. The gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend as I...
Okay, so that was obviously a stupid question to ask him. But this idea of we're going to claim the religious high ground.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get to that mindset? How are those even compatible? How do you try to retrofit that?
Well, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. Yeah. Okay, there are plenty of people of faith who belong to denominations that are much more liberal in their worldview. And so the problem is that we're trying to fit politics into faith or faith into politics, and they don't necessarily fit one another. They certainly don't go hand in hand. And I think that what you see more than anything is people trying to use faith as a weapon.
Yes.
And that happens in both directions. That is not just the left that does that.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The to me, I don't know. Just the audacity of someone, a sitting congressperson, to turn on a witness who they're supposed to show a certain level of decorum towards. Right. I mean, they can do all their speechifying and everything, but you're not supposed to basically attack the person and to basically say, you're going to hell. Here's Judgment Day.
Right.
First of all, that's not theologically sound anyway.
Correct.
She's no more sound than Mr. Westboro Baptist preacher. Let's put it that way.
Fred Phelps, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't square that, and you can't excuse it.
Yeah.
Well, Corporeal Being says that he disagrees that faith will always inform your politics. Is that
valid.
Okay, no, that's fair. I think what I was trying to say is you can't fit faith into political, strictures. You can't try to fit faith into how the politics works. You can be informed by your faith. That can determine how you value things politically. But in terms of the political system, like you can't. It's like square peg round hole is what I guess I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think to some degree we're seeing on both sides, and definitely on our side, that some people are making politics their religion.
Oh,
and trying
100%.
And trying to rebrand that as Christianity,
Yeah.
or trying to rebrand Christianity as the GOP,
right,
or as a particular candidate or a particular office holder. And I'm as disgusted by that.
Right.
On the left, for instance, the last church that I attended and finally got up and walked out of, I mean, literally in the middle of the service, they're very left wing, a little more subtle about it than what you would see like in the Webster Grove rainbow flag flying churches. The fact that they should be sued for copyright infringement for even using a word Christian on some of those churches, because there's just nothing compatible with what they're claiming. But hey, First Amendment, you can say what you want to say and claim whatever you want to claim. But like, for instance, there was a prominent person in this church, and I won't say who it was, because then I'll give away the person. Always up front, that's who you go to counsel, for the counseling at the altar call, and cry on her shoulder and all that kind of crap. And but then you looked at her social media, and she's promoting appearances by Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Cori Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you're not actually a Christian. I don't care who you're married to in the church. What they stand for is 100% opposite of what you claim your church stands for, and you're a prominent person there. So I just decided not to take any of them seriously. And then finally, when the pastor kept lying, at the church, over social justice warrior-y stuff, I'm like, I'm done. And this sort of weaponization has inflicted both sides, but it is insidious on the far left. I think it's uninformed in a lot of ways on the far right and weaponized, but it's insidious on the far left.
I think I'm very reluctant. I don't go down the road of saying someone is or isn't Christian. That's not I can say that what they're saying and what their behavior is doesn't align with Christian principles. And I just think that I think people, and I'm trying to make sure I'm not doing this, I think people lean into their faith at times because it's convenient and they think that gives them moral authority. But what they're really doing isn't actually faith-based.
Right.
And
political-based.
It's political-based.
Yeah.
So I think we see that a lot, and it's troubling. It just shows people have really kind of, lost their way.
Oh, without a doubt. And again, I want to call out some on our side too. I think on our side there's a lot of misinformed or ill-informed, but there are some that I think just weaponized because it's strategic. But when you hear this kind of garbage from like Congresswoman McIver or
McIver. Not to be confused with McIver.
McIver. Then what you've got is just an insidious abuse of what used to be an institution that society and communities and culture relied on outside of politics.
Yeah, there's multiple layers there. Not only is she abusing a witness who's kind of her captive audience, and she's, so she's basically behaving poorly in and of itself, regardless of the words that she's using, but the way she's doing it, she's attacking this person,
right,
as opposed to challenging, questioning, drawing out, that sort of thing. And then on top of it, to try and wrap it in, some sort of biblical bow is just
anytime
sick.
I see somebody on the far left tries to argue based on, scripture or Christianity, I just roll my eyes. I'm like, you're on the far left, therefore you don't have any argument because of your bastardization and twisting of what you're reading. Now, there are plenty of ways to interpret things. I mean, theological debate's a good and healthy thing, but that's not what's happening here. And she was shut down by the committee chair. I mean, she was too dumb to be embarrassed by her actions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at this point, the point of these hearings isn't about being embarrassed or not. It's about getting your viral moment. And she got her viral moment.
Mm-hmm.
She did. So
not working out the way for her that she thought it would.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to. Yeah, I don't think so either.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, Missouri lawmakers are considering a proposal to put parents back in charge of when children start to fall victim to gender ideology activism in schools. The teachers union does not like that, and we're going to explain at 7:20.
Inspiration, you have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. You're making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had another.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
If you want to be one of the nonconformists, all you have to do is dress just like us and listen to the same music we do.
On Newstalk STL. Columbo and Company.
Education reform and minimum wage for minors making news in Jeff City this week. We'll discuss it Wednesday with Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd, plus Danny Define and Closest Cabinet.
Live and local, weekdays at 2
on Newstalk STL.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Louis Gohmert, he's a former congressman.
Bob Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
Pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series. And so I snuck my transistor radio in my shirt and had the little earpiece into my ear and tried to keep my head turned where the teacher wouldn't see. But was listening to the World Series in class.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4
on Newstalk STL.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. We have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
101.9 and 94.1 Newstalk STL.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on Newstalk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 Newstalk STL.
All right, here's one of those things that should be just common sense, should also be accepted as common decency, but of course the teachers' unions in Missouri oppose it. Yeah, found the story on Missouri Net.
Okay.
Here. So there's a bill being proposed that would stop public schools from supporting and encouraging gender dysphoric mental illness in children. Okay. Here's what's going on. If you want to look it up for yourself and you want to do the wonky thing, we're talking about Senate Bill 1085. So that's as wonky as I'm going to get. And this would require school staff to notify the principal within 24 hours of a student expressing gender confusion. A boy says, I really think I'm a girl, or vice versa, that they're going to be required to notify the principal within 24 hours and then notify the student's parents or guardians within 72 hours. Okay, I got a little bit of an issue because that shows you still that they're allowing the public schools to deprioritize the parents, and it gives them a couple of days to try to work on something there. So it would also require that school districts fire any licensed educator, so any teacher, who engages in conduct or conversation, I'm reading the Missouri Net article here, who engages in conduct or conversation affirming the student's self-identification as a member of the opposite sex. So if a student or a teacher says, okay, well, if you think you're a girl, you're really a girl, out, fired.
Okay.
Obviously, that's one of the issues the teachers union don't like. Their job is to obviously protect their members. But what you have here is basically a law saying if you are going to perpetuate and inflict this ideology on students, you don't need to be around students, at least not on the taxpayer's dime.
Okay.
I got no issue with that.
I do.
Tell me why.
Just how vague are they going to be, or how clear are they going to be about what constitutes that violation? And I'm going to give you an example. What you just said was someone saying, basically actively encouraging. What if they, instead of that, or just saying, you know what, you're fine just how you are. You're going to be okay. Things that are maybe ambiguous, that are, genuinely coming from a place of trying to reassure a student, not harm them in any way or lead them down a wrong path, but just genuinely trying to reaffirm them, but at the same time could be subject to multiple interpretations. That seems like a First Amendment issue and a very murky issue in terms of the definitional aspect of it.
The way they're saying is that if they did something that affirms the delusion.
Yeah, but what is affirms the delusion? Yeah, okay, if you say you're a boy, yes, that's affirming. But what if you're saying, you know what, I hear you, it's okay, you're okay, that sort of thing. So you're not saying, no, you're not a boy. You're not dissuading them from it, but you're just in that middle ground.
Yeah.
I see a problem with that way that's determined. I mean, that's got to be defined very specifically, or it's going to run into a legal issue.
Is there a way to do that? Because we know the public school establishment is fully on board with this ideology and with this activism, and we know that they are abusing children.
There might be a way to define it sufficiently so that it would pass scrutiny, but the way it's worded right now, I think it would probably get hung up legally.
Yeah. So any school or district, going back to the article here, that violates this, should it become law, could also be sued by the parents or the guardians of the student, and the Attorney General could also file suit and issue restraining orders against the schools in the district. So basically, the law is saying you're not allowed to be a pro so-called trans activist group with your captive audience. That goal, I would hope, would be something that everybody should agree on, but the fringe and the far left doesn't. They're not going to agree on that. That's what they want public schools to be doing.
Sure.
And the teachers unions, of course, for instance, let me get the quote here. So for example, one of the things when they were having a hearing on this, Matt Sharp, an attorney with the law firm Alliance Defending Freedom, which is on the conservative side, testified in favor of the bill. He said teachers' jobs in Missouri and elsewhere are being threatened unless they accept radical gender ideology. Quoting here. For example, in Kansas City Public Schools, their student code of conduct says school personnel may not disclose information that may reveal a learner's transgender status or gender nonconforming presentation to others, including parents, unless legally required to do so or the learner has authorized it. And then Matt Sharp went on to say, that same policy further warrants persons, including learners and employees, shall be addressed by a name and pronoun that corresponds with their gender identity. So what you have are in many school districts, and I suspect that this is either the written or just the accepted and demanded policy, is that the schools jump on and they look for ways to encourage it. So this problem is something that absolutely needs to be addressed. And the NEA representative who was testifying against it, well, there was a couple. For instance, Dava Lee Brush is a retired teacher and member of the group Missouri Equity Education Partnership. And this person is quoted, because I don't know if Dava Lee, I'm assuming that's female, but she says, teachers and counselors and educational professionals should be safe spaces for students, especially if parents are supportive of their transitioning. But some waters are very difficult to navigate, and we can't always tell when a child is going to be in jeopardy. Otto Fahen with the Missouri NEA also opposes the bill. By the way, if the NEA opposes it, then it's probably a good bill. That's one litmus test. He testified that it could have a negative impact on education. He goes on to say, it puts teachers and principals in difficult situations where they lose their livelihood. This, we think, will have a chilling effect on the profession. It's going to affect people who are in the profession and people who might be thinking about coming into the profession. If somebody is worried about their profession because they insist on hiding something from parents or they insist on encouraging this, I want that to chill the impression. I want that to cause these people to lose their livelihood. They should not be around children at all.
So a couple things. First of all, I want to commend that Kansas City School District with the code of conduct for talking about its learners, not its learers. That's right off the bat.
We'll take what we can get.
Yeah.
We'll take what we
Okay.
can get,
That's a good. I think that there's two aspects of that bill. The first one, which is requiring the notification, I think is a good one. And I think that will withstand scrutiny. It's the second part, which is saying you can get the kibosh if you affirm. You got to be really careful about how you're defining affirming. And in order for that to pass legal muster and not get hung up in court, that's what I am saying. And because I could see there being some murky middle ground where someone is genuinely trying to help the student and isn't trying to encourage them to transition, but is also trying to let them know that they're going to be okay.
Right.
And it's not the end of the world, but somehow that gets twisted. So I see some problems with the second part of that. But yeah, I mean, it should be axiomatic that if your child is expressing some sort of distress, some sort of confusion, some sort of psychological issue, you need to be in the loop on that. And this presumption that schools are safe spaces and homes are not,
right?
Why is that the default?
Yeah, that's one of the I guess fault I will have with this, and that is addressing because, for instance, you say, okay, you got to notify the principal in 24 hours, but you got 72 hours to bother to tell the parents, which means we get to have meetings to decide to do with the kid before we bring in the parent in the loop. Is there any other mental distress or mental illness that manifests itself that would have this sort of protections by the school who decides we're co-parents or we're the primary parent? And that's really what the education system's done.
Because it's this locked-in mentality that a kid who is, expresses anything other than traditional sexual preference and or identity is somehow, that's this special class that has to be extra super duper protected.
Right.
No. Your kid is your kid, and if they're having issues, you need to be in the loop on that. And if the school thinks they know better, well, then they can go to court and get some sort of order that says somehow they're your parent and you're the child's parent and you're not. Good luck with that.
Right. And even if there were a left-wing court that did it, then the parents should absolutely disobey it. And keep
right.
the
I'm
kids
not
out.
saying, but I'm just saying, like, they don't have the legal right to do that.
No. They think they do.
They don't.
I mean, they think that they're the co-parent,
right?
And they do. I mean, I think the public education establishment really, I truly believe they have decided that they are at war with the ideology of parents who have the traditional common sense values that have essentially been the basis of Western civilization for centuries.
Yeah. No, it's so I like the idea behind this. I think it might need to be tweaked on some of the language and in the definitional aspects of it if it wants to withstand legal scrutiny, is my thought.
You want to protect more kids, then you need to weaken the power of the teachers' unions. That's one of the first things you got to do in public schools.
Yeah.
You have to. You just got to do it.
You know what I would like to do, though, in the meantime, while we're fighting that battle, is I would like your 80s bump music request for Flashback Friday. This week's theme is going to be Valentine's Day. So either give us something for your little sweetheart out there, or if you're alone like I'm going to be, give me something to help me cope with my loneliness.
Let me put it out this way. Either for your sweetheart, or if that doesn't work, for your wife. Okay.
Michael.
Jerome at NewsTalkSTL, please give me your 80s bump music songs.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the lower 50s this afternoon with mostly sunny skies, sinks of winds out of the north. Thursday, mostly cloudy, could see an isolated shower or two, 49 degrees. Friday, partly sunny, a high of 55. Into Saturday, could be tracking the possibility of some scattered showers. Temperatures back towards the lower 50s. Into Sunday, things will continue to rise with highs into the upper 50s. Going to be looking at clearing skies as the day continues on. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scotch.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIGlobal.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit vincentsjewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
We already know how the leftists will try to get illegals into voting. Well, there's another part of that story that is even more disturbing. Case in point, Michigan. A 4-month investigation found 239 non-citizens were in a jury pool for a 4-month period. Then they cross-checked against voter rolls, and it appears 14 of these prospective jurors were registered to vote at some point in time. Keep this in mind. These are illegal citizens who have no right to vote in any federal election. But here's the other part, and this should really anger you and burn your butt. They are serving on jury pools. They are serving in American courtrooms as a member of a jury. And whatever case you're facing, whatever charges you might have against you, you're having to rely on illegals, maybe non-English speaking, to try to decide, are you guilty or innocent? There is a full miscarriage of American justice.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey everybody, Senator Eric Schmidt here, inviting you to the statewide Lincoln Day celebration, February 20th through the 22nd. It's going to be a great weekend with fellow patriots. We'll talk about how we're going to continue to save this country, deliver on President Trump's agenda, and also celebrate America 250. So join us there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Learn more about the 2026 Lincoln Days and get tickets at Missouri.gop. That's Missouri.gop. Paid for by the Missouri Republican Party. Jennifer Finch, Treasurer.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. As we follow the important issues facing Jefferson County, if you want to stay informed on Jeffco politics, especially in this all-important midterm election year, make sure to tune in this and every Sunday at high noon here on News Talk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
If it's a big story in Jefferson County, you'll hear about it on Jeffco Patriot Radio. Sundays at noon on News Talk STL.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here.
Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1.
And always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Okay, we're tracking some breaking news right now. I have a feeling we're gonna see more about this throughout the day. This is just not even 20 minutes old at this point. The Federal Aviation Administration has essentially grounded all flights, commercial, passenger, in and around the El Paso, Texas area, which includes, as somebody was pointing out, part of New Mexico as well.
Yeah, it's right there on the border between Texas and New Mexico. Grounded is maybe not the right word. You can't use their airspace. So, in other words, people can
fly around.
They can fly around it.
Right.
Right.
But if they're in that airspace,
they're not taking
they
off.
can't get
Correct.
up and go anywhere. And if you were going to fly into El Paso, for whatever reason, and I don't, whichever airlines go there, you're not going there today. You may go somewhere else. You can get a rental car, but you're not going to fly in.
No.
And cargo ships are also good, or cargo planes, I should say, are going to be affected as well.
Correct.
So maybe if you're planning on ordering something, order from somewhere else.
Yeah. So we don't know We don't know why yet. And so that
security reasons is all they're giving.
Right. And so that is to say it's highly unusual doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. And all the years I've been doing media, I only remember one other time something like this happened, and that, of course, was 9/11, where things were, obviously grounded across the country. But that's very unusual. So we will keep an update on that. My guess is that we'll have a little more information throughout the day, so it could be while Jamie's on or Tony's on or Chris and Tim. I don't know, but we'll see what that's all about. How long did they issue that order? They
10
said
days.
That's big. Now, they may rescind that at some point, but that at this point, they're saying plan on no flights to or from or around that area for a week and a half.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Okay, 7:37 right now. If anything changes in the meantime, we will obviously bring you up to date on that. I got to tell you, I got some. You just mentioned the Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
Jerome, and that's the theme of this week's Flashback Friday.
Correct.
Okay, which there's a plethora of love songs out there, or breakup songs, or whatever it is you want to do with it. So I think we might get some insight into the hearts and souls and of our audience on Friday. But I got to tell you, I was scrolling through the Facebook Reels last night, and for some reason, it's always bizarre to me the ads that I get. All of a sudden, yesterday, a bunch of companies decided that I needed to see their ads for cologne and soap and body butter for men that are pheromone-based, and all of the ads were so stupid. It's like, use this soap, or use this deodorant, or use this cologne, and then they show a guy walking down the street, and hot young women just start grabbing him.
Right. That's how it happens. It's real.
It's pheromone-based, and for some reason, it was all about a Valentine's Day theme, and I'm going, why am I getting this?
Because it's almost Valentine's Day. You're a guy.
I'm a guy. Yeah, exactly. And but the other part of me was saying, what guy is going to see that ad and think that's actually going to happen? There was one of them that was more aggressive, and it was he sprayed the cologne, and the attractive young woman right there just started taking her clothes off. And I'm like, yeah, there's somebody out there goes, oh, I would love for that to happen. I would like to get my credit card out. I'm going to buy that.
Does that not happen to you when you walk around town? I thought that was a common occurrence for me.
I cannot say that happens.
It's funny. It happens for me all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
You must be you're the odd one out here, Mike.
Just kidding.
Stay out of the east side.
Just kidding. No, I don't. I think with a lot of commercials, like very rarely do I look at a commercial and whatever's happening in it and think, oh, that's literally what I'm going to experience. I think it's more about planting the idea, the concept that this is going to make you irresistible to the opposite sex. And even if you don't believe they're actually going to be jumping on you on the street, you might think, well, but there might be something to it. I mean, certainly we know that there's something to pheromones. I mean, obviously people are triggered by their sense of smell and that sort of thing. So there may be something to it.
And they all of a sudden decided that I needed to see this over and over and over.
So we're going to say advertisers pounce.
Yeah, they pounced on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny how quickly, you don't even have to necessarily have clicked on something and all of a sudden you're getting like nonstop of the same theme concept ads.
Right.
And God only knows what all is going into creating that. Right now, I'm obviously I get all kinds of dog and cat videos always.
Yeah,
endlessly.
but that makes sense.
That totally makes sense.
I get a lot of baseball ones. That makes sense.
I'm getting a lot of the tiny house AI renderings of, look at this darling little cottage in the woods.
I've seen those.
They're so soothing.
I like those.
They really are. It's like ASMR, right?
Yes.
Is it ASMR? Is that what it's called?
There was, but I get some of those too. I really like those.
Yeah, so I click on them because they're really cool, and then of course I get more and more and more. So it's like, okay. Which is what were we talking about yesterday about
The
kids
dopamine,
and addiction and dopamine? Yeah, it's the same thing with adults. We're not immune to it. But it is kind of funny what it picks up on because some things I see the ad for, I'm like, well, duh, or the reel, whatever it is. I'm like, I totally get that. Others, I'm like, wait, what triggered that?
Okay, so we had this conversation because I was complaining a couple years ago with a lot of these that I was getting because they were. They were just basically everything was, young women in lingerie and bikinis and whatever. And I'm like, I swear
Darn
to God.
it. Darn it, Mike.
Well, yeah. But I'm like,
it.
I don't
Stop.
go click on those websites. I mean, and Gabe was like, Mike, you're a middle-aged man and they figure you are the most common. And I'm telling you, somebody really wants me to move to Thailand.
You gotta be
They
careful.
really want me to move to Thailand, and I get all these videos that show up as like, oh, look at these a bunch of like old guys from America, and they get all these young women climbing all over them, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're climbing all over them looking for their wallet. But I saw one, I guess it was last night, and I get some of these. It's like, this is what $179,000 buys you in Thailand, and it's a beautiful house.
Sure.
And so what they're looking for is that they're looking for men probably in their 50s and 60s who are ready to retire or willing to retire and move to someplace where it costs less money. So it's just a marketing thing, and I get that part of it, but it's funny because sometimes I'll get the videos, like I get a bunch of the 80s metal videos. I'm like, okay, those make sense.
Yeah.
The others don't make sense because I don't go out and search those out.
Yeah. So one of the complaints that, I'm part of the complaints department, of course, at Red State. So we get the little feedback things. And one of the recurring themes is people complaining about what advertisers we're allowing on our site. Well, little inside baseball, many websites work like this. You have some sort of agreement with like Google Ad Service or whatever. So you don't have any control over what specific ads are actually showing up. It's kind of randomized, and it's actually in part triggered by the algorithms of the people going to the site. So, there's a way we try to tactfully let them know, look, hey, first of all, we really don't have any control over that. And second, you do.
I have a funny story about that too.
So
yeah,
it's hard. I mean, I get it. You don't want to be assaulted with stuff that you really don't want to see.
Right.
But
hey, if something's free, somebody's paying for it.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of that comes in. Okay, so I know you got some, but I've got a story.
Okay.
I was doing at one point I tried to leave doing media work, and I was doing human resources and recruiting work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for a company that made saunas. It was like basically a health company that made, infrared saunas. And we had a lot of advertising, and we bought Google Ads when that was kind of a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call from a guy who owned another sauna company who was really mad and complaining because our ads were showing up on his website.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, dude, I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, give me your website address. And I type it up. I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, yeah, there's our ad right there. He goes, that's BS competition. You need to get those things off there. I'm like, dude, I said, those are Google ads. I said, we don't have any say where they end up going. And I said, it turns out he used one of those free website templates.
Uh-huh.
And the reason they're free is because Google ads, I'm like, I just find them saying, dude, you're going to have to build a real website or else we're going to keep showing up.
Or else you're going to be beholden to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a work account that I only use specifically for news-related things, and the ads that I'm getting now are all for, let's just say, problems for people that are probably older than you, Mike. So, that's very interesting. But this is where the concept of cookies comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you see the sites like, oh, would you like to accept the cookies? Well, that's kind of how they're tracking you for these targeted ads.
The answer is always no.
Yeah, always just.
But
no.
I think you click no, and I think they put them on there anyway. I don't think they actually.
I mean, some of them are paying a lot of money to have that happen, and then other times, like I've actually been successfully sabotaging my friend's algorithm by tagging them in things I know they're going to react to, and then causing like a thread with them, and now they're getting more of that content. I'm like, haha. So there are ways.
That's insidious.
It is, but guess what? You want to disagree with me? Now your algorithm's ruined.
My brother years ago set up one account that he only used when he was buying stuff online.
Mm-hmm.
It was like his first name .x his last name, and of course every place promises you that they do not sell immediately he's getting a bunch of ads to that email address.
Yeah.
So he could point out right there, I'm like, yep. The first time I bought something, I started getting ads. So I know they're lying when they say they don't share or sell that for, and like I'm getting email marketing stuff from a website that it wasn't even like a commercial thing. And I specifically made sure the send me ads and promotions was not click, and I still get it all. They don't care.
No, it happens. I can go back before the internet even. I had a Dillard's credit card. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, when I filled out the form, it didn't read the first S in my name and instead put in a period. So my name on Dillard's was period USAN or USAN, or Uzan, depending on how you. So anytime I got mail that had that configuration, it's like, oh, well, that came from Dillard's because that's the only place that they did that. But it was like, okay, you'd think that they would figure it out?
No,
I don't know. What you should figure out is how you can make sure you get to the Freedom 13 Support Our Troops Gala. That is coming up at the end of February. Join Freedom 13 and NewsTalk STL in honoring our heroes. The Salute Our Troops Gala night takes place on Friday, February 27th at the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles from 6 to 11 p.m. The Freedom 13 organization was created to not only remember and honor Jared Schmitz and his 12 fellow American heroes, but every American hero that made the ultimate sacrifice. Their mission is a simple one, to help our veterans and police officers and their families. So go to newstalkstl.com for all the details and to purchase tickets. It's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. The weather isn't quite as nice as it was yesterday, but you still may be getting out and getting about, doing stuff, meeting up with friends. And I have the perfect place for you if you're going to do that. You want to know what your plans are for lunch today? Well, are you craving a burger? Maybe wings, maybe a meatball sandwich, maybe a chicken Caesar wrap? If you are, you want to check out Harpo's Chesterfield. They're located in the heart of West County for over 20 years. It's the perfect neighborhood bar. They're close. They're convenient. It's got a great sports bar atmosphere. They've got daily food and drink specials, plus great happy hour specials. Today's Wednesday, so their special is a 10-ounce strip steak served with your choice of 2 sides for $15. And if you want to go tomorrow, Thursday, the special is meatloaf with a choice of 2 sides for only $13. So you can check those out at harbosstl.com. If you want to know what upcoming events they may have, you can check out their Facebook and Instagram pages at Harpo's Chesterfield. Harpo's has a friendly, energetic staff. They deliver fun food and drinks like no one else. So whether you're dining in or carrying out, make Harpo's Chesterfield your go-to. Visit harposstl.com or check out Harpo's Chesterfield on Facebook or Insta.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
Larry Connors here. Special advice for you. Do not try to steal home base with Mike Ferguson at the plate. And don't forget Larry Connors USA, 6 to 8.
Actually, had baseball practice this afternoon.
Yep. Indoors,
yeah. Mm-hmm. I took a week off after the tournament down in Puerto
Mm-hmm.
Rico, and so took a week off. Now I'm back at it. So looking forward to that. My baseball season starts in less than 60 days.
Nice.
Yeah, be back out on the field. Looking forward to that. Jerome's actually seen me play. It's amusing.
It's intense.
For old guys, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll go watch you play.
I highly recommend it.
Oh, I will. I like baseball.
Okay, this case gets stranger by the day, but we had a situation where somebody was taken into custody by the police, but they've been released, as we now know, in connection with the Nancy Guthrie disappearance. So we'll tell you what we do know, which is basically enough for us to now say there's more that we don't know. The more we learn, the more we don't know. And so we'll give you the update on that. And as always, of course, there's a lot to keep up with in the news. So, Susie, where should we start on Red State today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Well, this kind of ties into something we were talking about earlier. We've got a column up from Eli Shepard. It's titled, Kentucky Governor Uses Bible as Support for Mutilating Children. Andy Bashir was just on The View, and unfortunately, he was talking about transgender, the situation, and he said, my faith teaches me that all children are children of God, which is true. That if you stop there, we're good.
Yeah.
And I didn't want people picking on those kids. So he's basically trying to use biblical background to justify transitioning kids.
Yeah.
And that doesn't
I
fly.
saw that clip, and because Andy Bashir is electable, but he's trying to keep a good relationship with the fringe left on this. But it just shows that he's not going to be any better than any of the others.
No. We got a piece up from Ward Clark. It's titled, Why Humanoid Robots Are Now Getting Smaller, Safer, and Ready for Homes. So we're kind of getting into that era. We've been talking about, technology and stuff. Now they're starting to build robots that are going to be like home helpers, but they're not. They're like 3.5 feet. They're like ET size. And they're going to be softer, so they're less likely to like pinch or cause harm. But I think we're going to start seeing these.
So they like
integrated.
what vacuum and dusting and stuff like that?
Yeah, anything really. When you think about it, there's lots of different household chores that we're going to get to a point where these are going to be doing, just like Rosie and the Jetsons.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
not opposed.
Yeah. No. Also, Brad Slager, our Hollywood media guru, has a piece up that's titled Tinseltown Exodus, Why Hollywood is Bolting the Golden State. And that kind of looks at why California is no longer kind of the be-all, end-all when it comes to filming, production, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not even just the actors leaving. It's the production that's leaving.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because it was a big deal a year or two ago when Sylvester Stallone, of course, I guess he's got a reality show, and he announced to his family, his daughters, like, we're leaving for Florida. And they were really upset. Or at least they played it up for the... Most reality TV is not reality. It's very scripted.
Oh, it's not?
It's, yeah.
Oh, man.
But, yeah, but you get a lot of these that are moving out, and they still want to virtue signal support for the left-wing stuff. But the reality is they're like, I don't want to keep paying all that money.
No, I mean, there's financial and regulatory reasons why these production companies and everything, they're like picking up shop.
Yeah, heading out. All right, 7:53 right now. By the way, at 8:05 here, has, of course, there are strong opinions on Black History Month, just as an entity. Gabe has made it pretty clear what he thinks of it, but has the left even hijacked the entire concept? We're going to visit with Donna Jackson. Formerly Donna, formerly a Project 21, now with CFACT. So we're going to have that conversation with her. So that's going to be energetic with Donna. It always is. So we're going to talk to her. Okay, so the Nancy Guthrie disappearance.
Yeah.
No, at this point, you really can't say, well, is it or is it not a kidnapping? It's everything indicates it's obviously a kidnapping of some kind, And so there was a doorbell camera video that's now been released. A guy in a ski mask and gloves, and he's trying to hide the camera, or trying to hide himself and put something over the camera. So clearly there's criminality involved here. A dude was picked up in question, but they've now released him.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's strange. He looks to be a young man, maybe like in his early 30s, late 20s or whatever, and he's already talking to the cameras.
Yep.
So it's like, did they just completely have mistaken identity? Was there seems to be something that led them to this particular person. We just don't know what it was.
Right. And so the FBI is still involved. There's been some activity on a Bitcoin account because Newsmax is now reporting that they've got some of the details of the ransom note, that it was originally a $4 million ransom that was sent to the family, saying this could go up to $6 million. We will not negotiate. Here's the deadline. Now, that deadline's come and gone, but there's apparently been some activity, and what we don't know or what's not been released is what was the activity on this Bitcoin wallet that was connected with the ransom note.
Yeah, the information on it is sparse. TMZ was, I think, the first to lead with the fact that there'd been activity, but they didn't get into more details. They said that they were trying to respect, the investigation and not step on toes or not disclose something. But one of the local news stations, which was one who actually received a copy of the ransom note, they indicated that there was like a $300 transaction on the wallet, which obviously that's not ransom. But it could have been someone testing to see if the wallet was live, would accept funds, that sort of thing. I don't know enough about the mechanics of it either to really.
I mean, any sort of transfer. I mean, think about like your direct deposit. It used to be that you got a check for your first time, but they would deposit a penny or a nickel into your account just to make sure that it would work and it would go through. So maybe there's something like this. Maybe they're putting something in there to see if it's going to be tracked or taken by authorities or whatever the case is. But something has happened that makes this, at least all indicators are, this is a kidnapping and ransom situation. Now, whether it's an inside job or something on the outside, we've got all kinds of questions that we have no answers to.
No, and authorities were really focused on the neighborhood of Savannah Guthrie's sister, Annie, yesterday. That Annie and her husband live about 4 miles from Nancy Guthrie, apparently, and there was a lot of, canvassing, door-to-door canvassing, discussing, searching in that area yesterday. Whether that bore any fruit, I don't know.
Yeah. So more information comes out constantly on this. And the thing is, when things get sensationalized so much, people like to fill in with theories. And a lot of times that can make people get into a position where they say, well, I thought this was true. Clearly it's not. Somebody was lying. Or you just had a lot of people filling in their theories.
Right.
Because the authorities are being not tight-lipped, but they're not the ones doing most of the talking.
They're not. They haven't had a bunch of press conferences. Right. It hasn't been that sort of thing. And what's interesting, so I was watching, I had Fox News on last night because I was womaning the desk at Red State. And so we were monitoring that. It was like wall-to-wall coverage of the Guthrie case. So they were just trying to kind of fill the space with it. So a lot of speculation, not a lot of information, but we'll see.
There's only one place you can get pizza cooked over coals. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield Valley. Of course, Napoli Brothers has a great selection of pasta dishes. Between the pizza and pasta, trust me, you will not leave hungry. Then, a few doors down, Lit Cigar Lounge, a wide variety of quality cigars, each offering a unique smoke. That cigar, some premium whiskey, all you need to do is enjoy. Lit Cigar Lounge and Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, Chesterfield Valley.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. Amit Thomason. The focus of the search for Nancy Guthrie shifted overnight to Rio Rico, Arizona. It's about 1 hour south of Tucson. That's where investigators detained and questioned a man, and they searched his home before he was released. Follows the FBI's release of surveillance video showing an armed, masked man at Nancy Guthrie's front door the night she was abducted. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump saw the images.
His initial reaction, of course, as all Americans, is just pure disgust. And again, it's heartbreaking to see now this footage really bring to life a story we've all been reading about. And again, we're just praying for the safety of Nancy Guthrie.
Then a deadly mass shooting in remote Western Canada.
Authorities in British Columbia say 8 people, including the suspected shooter, were killed Tuesday at a school in the Canadian Rockies and Tumbler Ridge, and more than 25 were injured. And authorities believe that one of the 8, a woman who died of a self-inflicted injury, also shot 2 people dead in a home nearby. British Columbia Minister of Public Safety, Nina Krieger.
This is a devastating day for a close-knit community, and the loss being felt is profound.
Tuesday's shootings were Canada's deadliest since 2020. I'm Donna Warder.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pays a visit to the White House today.
Days after the Trump administration resumed nuclear negotiations with Iran, Netanyahu will encourage the president to expand the scope of those high-stakes talks.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. America's employers added a surprisingly strong 130,000 jobs last month. The January jobs report did come out late because of the government shutdown. Watching Wall Street ahead of the opening bell, Dow futures up 217 points, NASDAQ futures ahead 161. Townhall.com.
Listen carefully. Silver prices have experienced a historic surge, breaking above the $100 per ounce threshold for the first time, and industry experts predict silver could climb even higher. It's not too late for you to benefit from the surge in silver. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get our free gold and silver investment guide. Plus, you'll also receive a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Debt is rising, currencies are under pressure, and investors are looking for real assets, not paper promises. That's why so many Americans are turning to physical gold and silver with Advantage Gold. Historically, when silver starts moving, it can move fast and aggressively. This isn't about guessing tops or bottoms. It's about understanding risk and positioning before momentum accelerates. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 and find out how you can get a tax and penalty-free rollover for a portion of your retirement funds for 2026. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the lower 50s this afternoon with mostly sunny skies, sinks of winds out of the north. Thursday, mostly cloudy, could see an isolated shower or 2, 49 degrees. Friday, partly sunny, a high of 55. Into Saturday, could be tracking the possibility of some scattered showers. Temperatures back towards the lower 50s. Into Sunday, things will continue to rise with highs into the upper 50s. Going to be looking at clearing skies as the day continues on. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here for Newstedter's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. WowDiamonds.com. It's Wow Diamonds for a reason. These are beautiful lab-grown diamonds. They are gorgeous. They will blind you when you walk in and see them, but that's a good thing. Great engagement sets, wedding sets, all these beautiful God-created gems, sapphires, rubies, you name it, garnets, and also all the gold you need, and the famous Bull of a Watch, WowDiamonds.com.
Missouri's premier boat show returns in 2026 as the St. Louis Boat and Fishing Show comes to America's Center the weekend of February 20th through the 22nd. See world-class fishermen working the latest new lures in the hog trough and see how the live fish react. Ride the mechanical bull, see a live stingray encounter. Plus, stop by the STL Power Sports booth and register to win a new e-bike valued at $3,000. The St. Louis Boat and Fishing Show, America's Center, February 20th through the 22nd.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm not like the rest of you. I don't make mistakes.
Susie Moore.
What you're telling me doesn't sound logical, my dear.
Get up! Get up! In case you hear the alarm.
Get up, St. Louis.
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
Okay, just a quick update to the news story we've been following out of El Paso, Texas. The flight order, basically the grounding order from the FAA in and around the El Paso, Texas airspace, we're being told now has been lifted. So originally this said be prepared for a 10-day order of no flights in or out. That has now been lifted. Whatever they thought the threat of the problem was apparently has been
dealt with or confirmed or debunked, whatever it is. So we'll probably get more information about what happened, but that's wraps up that story. So instead of 10 days, we had about 45 minutes there. All right, 8:06 right now. Here's an interesting question. Is the left hijacking Black History Month? Hijacking Black History Month. Now, there's some debate over Black History Month in the first place. Our former co-host Gabe Pfeiffer, who is black, he doesn't really care for Black History Month whatsoever. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like that. It's not just included in American history, which it is part of American history. Interesting statement from Donna Jackson. Of course, we would remember Donna from Project 21 now with CFACT, our friends at CFACT, and she joins us right now. And Donna, I thought you had an interesting take on this when you talk about February being a time to celebrate the historical contributions that African Americans have made to the country. And then you go on to say, like always, the left hijacked the celebration for their new victims, illegal immigrants. Explain what you mean by that, because the left says, hey, this is all one big team, and you're saying, wait a minute, you're doing one demographic at the expense of another.
Well, first let's dispel the team thing. So I'm from California originally, and if you go into I'm going to give you two scenarios. If you go into a situation where you see all white Americans, right, in an employment office, according to the left, that's because of systemic racism. But on the same hand, if you go into an area where it's all Hispanics in that employment area, they'll say it's because Americans don't want to do those jobs. Now, if we're being the same in terms of our interpretation of what we see, it's because of systemic racism by those Latinos. And I can speak firsthand of that, because when I was in California, the people that were racist to me were not white Americans. It was Hispanic Americans. So when you say we're on the same team, remember the people that were protesting during the Free Palestine, right, were both on the left. Mm-hmm. Jews, majority vote Democrat. The Muslims that were protesting vote Democrat. They're on the same team. How come they wasn't high-fiving each other for the brotherhood? I mean, this multiculturalism is actually a scam, because it's all against white male skin, just because you want to destroy the community. And so what I mean is this. The only reason why they took February, and like you said, I agree with your host when you say that, Black history is all history, and so it shouldn't be a carve out, because, that was always the thing for them, to make Black people think that they weren't a part of the greater culture. But this is the thing. The only reason why they're doing the anti-ICE protest in February is not because of the two victims that got hurt. It's because they want to make sure that they pair civil rights of the struggles of Black people with illegal immigration, so they can give them legitimacy. When they talked about the replacement theory, and they said that the right is afraid of the replacement theory because white people were going to be erased, it's not white people that they were targeting. It was Black people. Black people were the ones that they targeted for abortions. So 1/3 of our population has been killed through genocide, I'm going to say, or they call it abortion in healthcare, but I call it genocide, right? But then they encourage illegal immigrants who naturally have larger families. So, this whole notion that we're on the same team, we're not. I mean, the most racist place I can visit is in Mexico City. And let's remember, they bash America because we're supposed to be imperial colonizers, right, that committed genocide and stole land from indigenous people. But the Central and South Americans, that are the primary recipients of illegal immigration in this country were imperial colonizers, the conquistadors from Spain, which was a larger empire than the British. So what are we saying? Pick your favorite colonizer? The Mexicans are not indigenous people. They were the colonizers who committed genocide. And by the way, Spain, who actually financed Christopher Columbus's exploration, also wiped out the black Moors, who was North American, who was North African rulers of that country for 400 years before Queen Isabella and King Fernandez kicked them out. So this is really about bringing about socialism and communism under the pretense of picking your favorite victim.
Hey, Donna,
they're no friend of us.
Yeah, let me go back a couple minutes to something you just said jumped out at me when you talked about the left using basically comparing Black History Month and the Black Civil Rights Movement to the efforts to deport illegal aliens to this day, and trying to say, well, if you supported one, then you should support the illegal aliens, and trying to make a connection there. Give me your take on that, because that jumped out at me when you said that, because I've heard the same arguments.
Oh, there's no. I mean, because they think we're all the same. I mean, remember, we're too stupid, Black Americans, to get ID cards, so we don't know what's best for us. They treat us all as if we're the same. But the truth of the matter is that they're coming over here to invade our country. They're coming over here because they want to come here. We were brought over here, and I don't. We were brought over here as slaves, and you know what? I'll say thank God we were, but the truth of the matter is their journey is not the same as ours. And by the way, we're free today, but they are not here because they are victims, that they were oppressed by our government, and they're trying to make this argument that somehow the illegal immigrants that came over here were oppressed by the United States of America. They are not. They are here to invade. We fought battles. We fought 6 different wars. One of them was the Spanish-American War. The Mexico were not indigenous people. Mexicans are descendants, as I mentioned, of colonizers. And so why are we sitting there saying like they have the same struggle? They do not have the same struggle, but they're trying to equate what they're doing coming here to basically take over our government and our way of life as the same as what African Americans are, have gone through, which is basically we just wanted to be a part, have an opportunity, not an advantage, because I'm against DEI. I'm against them doing carve-outs because I think that the best person should win. I think that we need to run on merit. But at the same token, I don't think that they should be given a front. I don't think that they should be allowed to just come in here illegally when we fought to get our citizenship through freedom. And they're trying to equate the same. It's not the same, because if I'm fighting for a job and then you give me a job, it's not the same. And I think that is the part that is wrong. But that's the reason why Black History Month and anti-ICE protests are ramping up at the same time to give them legitimacy. They are illegitimate. And guess who they're hurting the most? Black Americans. Where did they put all the illegal immigrants when they came to this country? In Black neighborhoods. And I think it's, astonishing that most of the illegal immigrants that came during the Biden administration were military-aged men. Now, that is significant. Why? because the same Biden who ran the administration was the same one that authored the crime bill that took black men out of the neighborhood. So what did he do? Replace the black men in the black neighborhoods that he took out and put military-age illegal immigrants in our communities.
All right, Donna.
So they're wiping black people out.
All right, Donna Jackson from now with CFACT. I think last time you and I talked, you were still working with Project 21. People want to follow the work that you're doing because you know that what you're saying is going to generate a lot of conversation, which is why I like having you on, Donna. But how do they stay in touch or ask you questions or get a conversation going with you?
Yes, you can reach me at cfact.org, cfact.org, because we can talk about this forever.
Absolutely, Donna. Great, great chatting with you again, Donna. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we've got the news dump coming your way here. A grand jury's decision to not indict some Congress critters is now in the news. It's getting overwhelmed by other news, but we'll have the update for you at 8:20.
You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to you.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin God.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
It's more than a rebellion. When your teen is slipping into drugs or alcohol, when social media and pornography consume their time and their mind, when depression and even suicidal thoughts cast a shadow over your home, as a parent, you feel powerless. There is hope. At Turnabout Ranch, troubled teens step away from the chaos and into a clarity of nature on a working cattle ranch. Care for horses, learn responsibility, build trust, and rediscover purpose. It isn't theory, it's real work, real therapy, real healing. Families from across the country have found transformation right here, just when they thought hope was gone. If your teen is struggling with addiction, harmful online behaviors, even weight management, call right now and get the help you all need.
800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. That's 800-219-2494.
This Winter Games Update brought to you by Corel Roofing and Best Buy Flooring.
Mr.
Westwood One Sports presents this special update on the 2026 Winter Games, sponsored by AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. The stage is set at the Livigno Aerials and Moguls Park for the women's freestyle skiing moguls final, where the first of two finals is complete. Americans Jalen Koff and Elizabeth Lemley are both moving on to the second final, where the top 8 compete to qualify for a chance to race for the podium later today. Tess Johnson and Olivia Giacchio did not advance. Earlier, in alpine skiing at the Stelvio, American Ryan Cochran-Siegel won silver in the men's Super G final, a second straight Super G silver for RCS, who also placed second in Beijing. Meanwhile, 3 Americans are moving on to tomorrow's women's snowboard halfpipe final after today's qualifier. Two-time defending gold medalist Chloe Kim made her Milan Cortina debut, and Maddie Mastro and B. Kim will also compete. With this Winter Games update, I'm Erica Herskowitz, Westwood One Sports.
Need to sell your house fast? Whether you're facing foreclosure, stuck with bad tenants, or just ready for a fresh start, House Buyer Network can help. We buy homes as is for cash. No fees, no commissions, no repairs. Get a fair cash offer in just 24 hours and close in as little as 7 days. Call 833-719-5877 now for your free no-obligation offer. That's 833-719-5877. House Buyer Network. Fast cash, no hassle.
Offers are typically below market value in exchange for speed and convenience. Call for details.
Can I take your coat?
Oh, you noticed. Yeah, I found it on eBay from a seller in Vegas. Pre-loved and perfect. She listed it and jackpot. Italian leather, classic trench silhouette. And did you see the braided buckle?
Hang on to your claim ticket.
Oh, I'll hang on to this forever. Have you been on eBay? There's so many finds. And I bet that diving watch would sell fast. Just saying.
Find what you love, sell what you don't. eBay. Things people love.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, investigators say there has been some movement and activity in the case of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance.
Oh.
Even like this morning, we've had stuff happen. It is 8:22 right now. Is the CCP targeting Christians inside the United States? This is one of those situations that should be a bigger story than it is. You're not going to see it in the typical mainstream media, but I'm going to run the story again today just so we're aware of what's happening here and just how evil the CCP actually is. And the Illini, for the second time in a row, they go into overtime.
Ooh.
Yeah, for a top 10 team, that's not where you want to be. That's for sure. All right, 8:23 right now. Let's do one more news dump here.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
All right, a grand jury refusing to indict Democratic lawmakers in connection with a video message to the military. That's at least according to published reports.
Late last year, the Justice Department opened an investigation into Senators Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin and 4 other Democratic lawmakers. In their video, they reminded U.S. service members to follow established military protocols and to resist illegal orders. At the time, President Trump called it seditious behavior by the lawmakers and punishable by death. But a grand jury in Washington declined to indict them. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And also an update to a story that we brought you earlier today as breaking news is that there was essentially grounding flights in and out of El Paso, Texas, that was originally listed as a 10-day restriction, but now that has been lifted, so it lasted, as far as we know, about an hour or so. So whatever the threat was has either been debunked or it's been addressed. I would keep an eye on the news outlets, especially redstate.com. I happen to know Susie's in there working on that right now with her team as well. So we'll find out what that was all about. Maybe it was nothing and it was a precaution. Maybe it was something that was addressed, but we'll get more information throughout the day.
It reminds me of back when Ronald Reagan, the nuclear threat happened,
Right.
It turned out to be a flock of seagulls, so it could be one of those types of things
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and the Flock of Seagulls honestly was an overrated band of the 80s, but they were, they were trend-setting. We'll put it that way. So I understand. All right, the FBI releasing images of a suspect amid the search for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of NBC Today co-host Savannah Guthrie. So you've probably seen this video on social media by now. A guy in a ski mask spotted by the doorbell camera the night that she disappeared from the home. FBI Director Kash Patel was on Fox's Hannity talking about the agency's involvement in the investigation.
We're going to go out and talk to anyone who has information or we believe has information in this or is involved in this tangentially or otherwise, and we're going to continue to develop those leads, continue to serve legal process, continue to work with our private sector partners, and continue to produce as much information publicly as we can.
Okay, so a couple of areas of movement is there was a guy detained by law enforcement. Looks like he was a food delivery driver, and he's been released. So he's actually already gone out to, the media. They had cameras on him, local news. And he's like, I didn't do it. I didn't have anything to do with it. But he was questioned and released. And also there is reports that activity in a Bitcoin wallet that's believed to be connected to the ransom note has been detected as well. And you say, well, Mike, what exactly does that mean? I don't know. But it means that there's something active and somebody paid something into it or tested it or something. Does that mean that they paid the ransom? Possibly, but we just don't have all the information yet.
Well, the interesting thing about that as well is if they were able to ping it by whatever method that they use, that means that if it is in fact related to, you stop that.
My computer did that. Yeah,
stop it.
I know. There it is.
I'm trying to explain Bitcoin to people.
Yes,
Come on,
please do.
But so what it means essentially is that if it is the actual account that's being linked to the ransom, then that means that the feds are going to definitely be able to probably track whatever transactions go through that, and that's definitely a good sign for catching whoever is involved in this.
Right. And so searches were also in the neighborhood, as Susie was pointing out, of Savannah Guthrie's sister. A lot of people want to read into that and say, well, you know what that means? I don't know what that means. That's what the experts are for. And another aspect of this is there are some people saying, well, is it just because it's connected to a celebrity that the feds are now getting involved with this? Not really. Now, would it get presidential attention? Otherwise, no, it would not. However, when you've got ransom in cyber currency, and you've got a kidnapping case like this, it's not uncommon for the FBI to get involved in cases like this. So the fact that the feds are involved, I don't think has anything to do with her last name being Guthrie. I think this is the kind of case that the FBI would get involved with no matter what.
And just because I saw a comment related to this earlier, and I also looked into it a little bit deeper, there are people that are suggesting for some reason that there was no sign of forced entry and that they believe, they think it's some kind of conspiracy of somebody being let in the house, but I am seeing reports that the actual investigators say that there were signs of some sort of unauthorized, it wasn't like he was invited into the house. He found a way to get in. So I just want to put that on record. It very much could have been tampering or something of that nature, but it does not appear that this is somebody that just opened the door and let him in.
Yeah, and the video shows a guy, like I said, in the ski mask. He's wearing a backpack, wearing gloves, and he's aware of the doorbell camera. Because he comes up and he's like holding his head down, and then he's trying to put like some bushes or flowers or something over the camera to disguise that. And that's about all you get from that video, but that's all over social media. So clearly at this point, Nancy Guthrie did not wander off or get lost or anything like that. It appears that this is a kidnapping, a kidnapping or something criminal.
Yes.
Involved. So that's about all we can say because that's about all we know at this point. All right. There's now a call in Congress for action against China, and it has to do with China being accused of targeting people of faith.
The communist government in Beijing persecutes Christians within its borders, but it doesn't stop there. The Congressional Executive Committee on China is urging Congress and the president to do something about China's campaigns against Chinese Christians living here in the U.S. The committee says China uses verbal and online harassment to silence believers in this country and sometimes even resorts to physical intimidation by communist agents. Michael Harrington reporting.
The CCP has far more leeway in this country than what we should ever allow, and probably far more than you actually think.
Oh, absolutely. And the shameful thing about it as well is that I know people personally who, if they hear, they're only targeting Christians, that's going to not matter to them. There should never be any country ever, period, who are able to target or harass or influence or do anything of that nature to American citizens if they're in America.
And keep in mind that we discovered 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, that the CCP had clandestine, literal police offices operating in the United States to enforce Chinese communist laws on Chinese citizens and expats in the United States.
And if you want to come here as a student or as a temporary resident of the United States, you quite literally have to still swear an oath to the CCP, and you have to allow them to have access to your cell phone data to make sure you're not talking about un-CCP. It's insane.
This is our generation's evil empire.
Yes.
Yep. All right, the Illini have now lost 2 games in a row. Last night's loss was another one that went into overtime, and at one point, the Illini had a 12-point lead, but they ended up on the losing end of a 92-90 game against Wisconsin on the road. So that's 2 overtime losses in a row. But let me tell you how this works in the rankings. That's 2 losses in a row. So the Illini are probably going to drop out of the top 10 of the national rankings within the next week. They really want to be 8 or above in order to get the primo seeding in the NCAA tournament. SLU plays again on Friday, and they're now 23-1 at this point.
Very nice.
Yep. Spring training officially underway for the Cardinals. Pitchers and catchers have reported to Jupiter. I'm saying they're getting started today. My old man baseball's been practicing since November. Read into that however you want. I'm not saying that we're more dedicated and we work harder. I'm just saying we started practicing in November.
Tell us how you really feel.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
My opinion is it's weird.
On NewsTalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. We're tracking temperatures back towards the lower 50s this afternoon with mostly sunny skies, 6 winds out of the north. Thursday, mostly cloudy, could see an isolated shower or two, 49 degrees. Friday, partly sunny, a high of 55. Into Saturday, could be tracking the possibility of some scattered showers. Temperatures back towards the lower 50s. Into Sunday, things will continue to rise with highs into the upper 50s. Going to be looking at clearing skies as the day continues on. In the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
Fox News commentary with Brian Kilmeade. Next.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. After my husband died, the last thing I wanted to think about was money. Ethos made it affordable to get life insurance. Signing up was fast and 100% online. I knew that I could pay our mortgage and have food in the fridge. I could focus on my kids. No one ever tells you how much you're going to depend on that policy. I am so grateful we had coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Here's Brian Kilmeade on Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner.
For a while, I thought Mark Warner was somebody above it. He's with intelligence. Till I watched him at the whole Russia hoax leading the way the entire time.
Americans are being killed in Minneapolis. The law enforcement there, the local cops can't do their job because you've got so many ICE agents out.
What he said is totally farcical. ICE is out there killing people. There were 2 incidents of the course of a year. Both happened in Minneapolis. Both were radicals there to incite. They were activists. Nobody wants to see anyone die, but you had that guy that got shot kicking out the taillights of an SUV carrying ICE operatives, right? So this guy then said he had a rib broken at a separate time, so he's been attacking ICE the entire time. So if you want to go disseminate and go investigate those 2 incidents, go ahead and do it. But to say that ICE is out there killing people is just out insane.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
NewsTalkSTL.
Personified, and I will drag you down and sell you out.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
There's always something being debated every legislative session, whether Democrats are in charge or Republicans are in charge regarding education. And what's really, really tragic about the whole question over education right now is that we used to argue and debate over how are we going to fix the academic instruction and performance and outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So we had debates over Common Core math. We had debates we had debates over what was the other one? The education one under what was it called?
The standardized stuff?
No, it was something standardized, but it was the education big issue at the time, and the federal government wanted to set these, the bigotry of soft expectations.
No Child Left Behind.
No Child Left Behind. Thank you.
Ruined my generation.
Yeah. So we used to argue about how to make kids smarter and more learned.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking about how to fight back against an establishment that actively encourages mental illness, sexually deviant mental illness.
Yeah.
That's where we are now. So when people like me get criticized for not supporting public education, this is why, because every indicator shows, one, they're failing at the things that they're supposed to do overall. I mean, I'm sure there are pockets of school districts here and there that are doing fine. But for the most part, the ideology has overwhelmed the academic aspect of it. And in Missouri, the teachers union is pretty fired up over a bill that's being proposed. It actually is moving. So it's in the Senate. And if you want to be all wonky and look it up, it's SB 1085. And this has to do with kids, with minors, who are falling victim to the gender ideology nonsense. I try to not use the word transgender because that's not a real thing. It's just not. And now, as an adult, do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I should have no responsibility to pay for it. But if you're an adult and you want to mutilate yourself and you want to wear a dress and say, call me Barbara, I feel pretty, whatever, it's your business. I will defend your right to do it.
Yeah, if you want to go win some Olympic medals and then go on a reality TV show and do that, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's your thing as an adult. We're talking about children here. So this bill, which actually doesn't go as far as I would want it to go, it would, when a student at school expresses basically an identity of the opposite sex. So a young boy says, I feel like I'm a girl. I want you to treat me like a girl. I want you to use these pronouns, whatever the case is. That the school staff would have to notify the principals within 24 hours of a student expressing that they are the other sex. So expressing the mental illness. And then it would require the principal to notify the parents within 72 hours. Now, you may say, that's insane. Why is the principal the first call? Why aren't the parents the first call? That's how you would do with any other sign of any other mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. and Mrs. Jones, little Bobby was showing signs that could possibly indicate schizophrenia, could indicate bipolar. You don't go to the principal, say, well, let's talk about this and figure out what to do because we got 24 hours to tell the principal. And then the principal doesn't get a chance to say, okay, well, let me take in some meetings or do some research. And then because we have to call the parents and let them know at some point. It's only for this politically protected mental illness.
Yeah, if the child is exhibiting signs of bulimia and anorexia, you're not going to say, oh, no, it's okay. You are actually fat. You do need to continue doing what you're doing because, no, you would say absolutely not. There's something going on here that we need to address. And when I was growing up, if you took a child and a boy and you put him in a dress and try to put him out in the public, that was considered a form of child abuse and shaming. You would never do that to somebody.
When I was in high school, it's funny, my senior year, and this was at Camp Point Central High School in Illinois, so West Central Illinois. Basically on the very, 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 very fringe of our listening area here. And I graduated early, but one of I don't know, it was the speech class or something like that. The following semester, it turns out that the speech teacher was also one of the theater, like that was her extracurricular. She did the theater stuff. And as part of the speech class, she forced the boys to do some musical number as a joke where they were wearing dresses and they had to portray girls. And it was an absurd thing. They weren't making them drag queens or anything, But I remember when one of them was telling me this, because I had already graduated early. I left at the semester in December. And one of them was telling me that, I'm like, I wouldn't have done that. And they said, oh, no, they told us we didn't have a choice. We're going to flunk it. I'm like, I wouldn't do it. You know, back in the 80s, you didn't say things like, I'm not going to do it. And I just said, well, good thing I graduated, because I'd have flunked and they would have had the angry Baptist pastor, you know, at the school board meetings fighting over this. And this was long before we'd ever heard of anything like this. So, you know, I don't know that back then the ideology was as captivated, that it had captivated the school system the way it has now. But that was supposed to be a joke. I mean, like Jamie Farr in MASH, you know, Klinger. I mean, it was that kind of thing.
Yeah, and going back to when I was in sports in high school, I mean, there would be like the Spirit Week Pom Squad stuff, and a bunch of us football guys, we'd get together and we'd say, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we did, because the girls would do the Pom Squad football game, so we would be like the male cheerleaders, so we got a little flamboyant with it, but we knew it was just for fun.
It was a joke.
Yeah, we weren't mocking anybody, but we were also just having fun with it.
What we're talking about right now is addressing, you know, and the thing is that this 24 hours for the principal, 72 hours before you tell the parents, that's a compromise. And the legislation also, if it were to be passed into law, it also says that any staff member, be it, I would take this to mean administration or faculty, any licensed educator who tries to affirm and support and promote the gender ideology nonsense, that the school district would have to fire them. They would have to lose their job if they are identified as somebody who encouraged this. That is a gutsy thing. Now, you know, Susie was talking about having some issues, possibly that this is something that could end up striking down a law in court if they're not careful with how they do this regarding First Amendment and how do you define it. Fair enough. But I like that at least there are some lawmakers who are saying we have to hit this head on. And in this Missouri Net article, let me just read a couple paragraphs from this. I'm reading the article. Matt Sharp, an attorney with the law firm Alliance Defending Freedom, also testified in favor of the bill. By the way, Alliance Defending Freedom is a conservative organization. The article goes on to say, he said teachers' jobs in Missouri and elsewhere are being threatened unless they accept radical gender ideology. Going on to quote the article. For example, in Kansas City Public Schools, their student code of conduct says school personnel may not disclose information that may reveal a learner's transgender status or gender nonconforming presentation to others, including parents, unless legally required to do so or the learner has authorized it. The article goes on to say that Sharp says, quoting, that same policy further warrants persons, including learners and employees, shall be addressed by a name and a pronoun that corresponds with their gender identity. So what you have right here is some lawmakers who are saying not only are we going to nullify and take over and not allow this to keep happening, but we have to put a stop to this. And if there are public school members, teachers, faculty, whatever, who are exacerbating this dangerous ideology, being a proponent of this dangerous mental illness, that they have no business being around children. They have no business being paid by taxpayers to be around children. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, there are definitely, you know, if your kid knows all these different gender pronouns, but that's the only form of pronoun they actually are being taught, then you need to get rid of that teacher and get that kid out of the class. Now, there was a caller that didn't want to come on air with us, which I can respect that, but they have a different take on the entire situation. Instead of maybe being outraged that the principals are the ones that are the first to be notified, what they're saying is that essentially teachers and principals are supposed to be in the assumption of being in the caretaker position in that moment. And so having them be the first to be notified almost puts more responsibility, and it can also help, you know, document that this was something that was reported and it's being taken care of before it gets to the parents to begin with. Is that not a more positive way of looking?
It doesn't take 72 hours. Now, to say this has to be reported to the principal or administration, okay, but they've got 24 hours to do that. And then the principal has 72 hours to contact the parents. Okay, so that's the compromise. You know, that's the compromise with the fringe left, and they don't like that at all, because we've seen time and time again, not just from around Missouri, but we've also seen it in Illinois, and we've seen it around the country, where the teachers' unions and the public school administrators assert that they are as much of a parent, as much of in charge of shaping that child's values and worldviews and sexuality as the parents are. Some of them will admit, okay, we're working with the parents, we're partners with them. No, you're not. You're the hired help. You are not partners. You have a job to do, and parents are, through their taxes, paying this. This is one of the reasons that we have to have universal school choice. It's not just so kids can be ready to read, write, do math, do critical thinking, do computer basics, all those things that they need to do, understand basic history, understand personal finances, the things that aren't being taught effectively now. But these are the reasons the parents need the choice, because we have to literally protect them from an entire institution in our communities and in our culture that has been completely captured by the fringe, dangerous ideological left.
Yeah, I can't think of a good argument against that. I think that pretty much lays out everything. I can't help sometimes to think maybe if, people had been going back towards the 80s model of education, that we would not be seeing a lot of these problems. And as I think about that, I also think about, what were some of the good 80s Valentine's Day songs back in the day? Because we have Flashback Friday coming up, so I'll be accepting all of your 80s bump music requests. This week's theme, of course, is going to be Valentine's Day or the Lonely Hearts Club.
Do you have a cheesiness factor that you're looking for?
Oh,
because there was a lot of cheesiness in a lot of these songs. How cheesy do you want these to be?
I want the cheesiness level to be matching sweater vests, pink sweater vests, holding hands, wearing khakis, Ken and Barbie style at the mall together.
Okay, so high cheese factor.
Or very sad and lonely. Your choice.
Oh, yeah.
Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
He picked the wrong schoolyard to come into, I have to tell you this.
On News Talk STL.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
When you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
NPR, guess what? Got defunded. And they're going to close down operations. If they're not going to get federal funding, well, then guess what? There are plenty of radio salespeople out there in the United States who can sell time. Big time. You know why they don't sell hire a sales team? Because nobody will buy advertising because they suck so bad.
Oh my God.
You don't see people.
You're so correct. That's it right there.
Vic Porcelli, live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. The world's best athletes, the biggest stage, the thrill of competition. News Talk STL brings you Winter Game updates 4 times every weekday. Get the latest results, medal counts, and top stories from the games. Stay connected to all the action as our athletes go for the gold. Brought to you by Corel Roofing and Best Buy Flooring. Details at NewsTalkSTL.com. The Vic Porcelli Show.
Wednesday at 11:05 is reserved for Vic for Vets. So we'll honor another veteran, and word has it, Ken Williams, that we may even get to talk to this hero. That's Wednesday at 11:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning, people.
Sometimes you just got to ask the tough questions, First, he says he didn't. Then he admits that he did. Should one of the Trump administration's cabinet members get the boot?
Ooh.
And you've got the administration and a number of members of Congress kind of circling the wagons around Secretary Lutnick, but the Commerce Secretary facing calls for his resignation over his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So here's the basics in the story from Town Hall. Greg Cluxton has this.
In testimony before Congress, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick acknowledged that he had met with Epstein twice after his 2008 conviction for soliciting prostitution from a child. That contradicts his previous claim that he had decided to never be in the room with Epstein again after 2005. But the White House is standing by Lutnick.
Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary.
Greg Clugston, Washington.
Yeah, okay, so it's not even so much that he had meetings even after the conviction, because I have no idea. Listen, Jeffrey Epstein did a lot of business. He was a billionaire financier.
This guy was incredibly well connected for somebody that started off as a high school teacher.
So there were a lot of people who found out, oh crap, my investor is that guy. So there were people who did nothing wrong who have connections to Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who have connections to Jeffrey Epstein who knew darn well exactly what was happening, and they're up to their neck in it, and they're trying to save their hides.
Yes.
I don't know where Howard Lutnick is on this, but here's the problem. The problem is he lied.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, no, after that conviction, I knew I wasn't ever going to deal with that guy ever again. I was never going to say. And then he had 2 meetings with him post-conviction. Now, 2008, remember, this is 18 years ago. We did not think of Jeffrey Epstein as the monster that we think of him now. We thought of him as a smaller monster, just a bad guy who abused some girls. Now we realize that this is much bigger than what we understood it to be in 2008. Lutnick could have been the same way, but here's the thing. When you lie about it, then the reaction, and it's a very natural reaction, okay, what else are you not telling us? Or what else have you told us that we need to revisit? That's the appropriate way to react to this. So even if they were just wrapping up, and I was like, these are hypotheticals. If they were just wrapping up, hey, you're a dredge of society, Jeffrey. I'm pulling my business from you. We got to sign these papers, and we're going our separate ways. That's a legitimate meeting, even with somebody like that.
Yeah.
But to lie about any of that begs more questions. And if we're serious about getting justice and we're serious about getting the truth, it shouldn't matter whether people are on, quote unquote, our side or on their side, if the truth is what matters.
Yeah, it's particularly interesting, too, because one of the meetings that was had with Jeffrey Epstein, according to him himself, was that he brought his wife and kids to the island. So it's sort of one of those things where it's like, I can understand, I did happen to run into him at his office or something because we were discussing that. I forgot that was 2009, not 2000, whatever the case was. But to specifically go to an island that after the conviction, that's kind of a very interesting and convenient thing to forget with, you know.
You don't forget that.
Now, and then the response from Caroline Levitt that was issued was also didn't build a lot of encouragement as well, because she was saying, well, what we think this demonstrates is that all of you that think that, you know, we were involved in some way, we poked all these holes in your theories, and so now we're moving on. I don't think we're moving on. I think that with if anything, what's coming out now is the fact that they are still being so secretive, and they're not saying, okay, we maybe we're not aware of all this evidence at the time when we issued the DOJ memo in July, but now that we're more aware, we have more evidence, we're going to reissue and we're going to go back through. They're not doing that. They're saying, nope, nothing to see here. It's time to move on.
Yeah. But hey, we released 3 million files, released 3 million documents. What more do you want?
Yeah. We only redacted people that shouldn't have been redacted, and we only are like way behind schedule, and, you know, but we're transparent, right? I don't get that.
And they are offering members of Congress the ability to go see the files, unredacted files, but they have to look at it on a computer screen. They can't make copies, can't take pictures. But a number have done that, including Ro Khanna and including Thomas Massie.
Now, yeah, so Ro Khanna has actually named his 6 names. I can't pronounce all of them, but the biggest one that most people would recognize immediately would be Les Wexner, who is I don't know if he's still or if he's a former CEO of Victoria's Secret. He's also had a lot of financial stuff, but he was named by Ro Khanna, and Thomas Massie on his X account went so far as to even say he was somebody that the FBI had a document labeling him as a known co-conspirator that was actually redacted that should have never been redacted. Now, again, that does not mean that he was a co-conspirator, the facilitation of some of the abuse that was going on, but that also then goes against when Kash Patel was under oath talking to Congress about the hearing, saying, well, no, we still have no evidence of any co-conspirators. Well, if you're maintaining that you saw all these files, that you've gone through, that the buck stops with you, that everything that the FBI has available is available to you. And we also have, for the files themselves, internal communications between different agents saying what is the protocol of redacting information on celebrities and politicians and some of the victims.
Including former presidents.
Including former presidents and Secretary of State, right? So how is it that the buck stops with you? You're under oath talking to Congress about, nope, it's still only Ghislaine and it's only Jeffrey, but this is all coming to light. And why is it taking two seemingly random members of Congress to fight against this thing when the entire implication of this in the beginning was we have all the files available right at my desk, and we're going to release it to you because we're going to be transparent about this.
Yeah, it's something that we can't let up on. And I mean, obviously, I'm not going to do a 3.5-hour show every day about Epstein. There's a lot to talk about, and I'd rather talk about stuff that's happening here in St. Louis and stuff that's happening in Illinois and stuff that's happening in Missouri. But around the country, we need people on both sides, especially those on the right, to be saying this isn't about tribalism. This isn't about the partisanship. This isn't about R&D. This isn't about the midterm elections. This is about justice, and this is about smashing a 2, 3, or 4 tier system of justice where the elite can get away with whatever they want, and the rest of us have to play by rules that the elite write for us.
Yeah, it is just, and then again, shame on those that are only looking for specific people as well. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't care about the Epstein files because you don't think that it really matters too much in your life, I can accept that. But it's,
you can't be invested in everything.
Yes,
there are important things I'm not invested in. I've only got so much bandwidth.
Yes, but at the same time, if you're only looking at the files and you're ignoring all the writing on the wall because I'm only looking for Donald Trump's name, or I'm only looking for Bill Clinton's name, or I'm only looking to make sure the person I like is made to look good, I just don't agree with that. I think that you're losing the point of what this represents and why this is so important to millions of people in America.
It would be better if you're what you just described right there. It'd be better for those people to just disinvest and invest in something else.
Yeah, I mean, just
if you're part of weaponizing it.